I travel from one world to another doing wholesale sales, and you call this the end of the world? This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 176 Mango. What's wrong? After waiting for a long time without an answer, Sue couldn't help but frown. Nothing, boss. Liu Min came back from outside last night and went in to rest when she passed by the leisure bar. Before she ordered anything, the waiter brought her a glass of mango juice and greeted her very familiarly, but when Liu Min saw the mango juice, she was very angry and said that she was allergic to mangoes, and the two quarreled. Everyone accused the waiter of acting on his own, but the waiter shouted that this was Liu Min's habit. He had done so before and received a lot of tips. Who would have thought that he would get into trouble today? In the end, it was the boss who came forward to apologize to Liu Min and calm down. Xiao Jun hurriedly told the story again. Mango juice? Are you sure it's mango juice? After listening, Su Wei frowned even more tightly. Yes, it's mango juice. We went to the store to confirm afterwards, and there is no mistake. Xiao Jun patted his chest and guaranteed. Su Wei quickly took out his mobile phone, connected it to the smart bracelet and checked the files on a tablet at home. There were some travel logs that Liu Min sent to her mother, which he had read before. Soon, Su Wei found a photo of Liu Min traveling in Qinggu in the files of Qinggu Journey. In the photo, Liu Min was holding a large yellow mango in both hands and eating it. The time in the photo was not long ago, more than 2 months ago. She was not allergic to mangoes 2 months ago, but she is allergic now? Not good. Su Wei suddenly stood up and had a bold guess in his mind. The current Liu Min may not be Liu Min Ben Min anymore. Boss, what's wrong? Chen Long and Xiao Jun were confused. Is there anything wrong with being allergic to mangoes? Let's go. I'll go meet her in person, Su Wei said and walked towards the door. Chen Long followed immediately. Xiao Jun and the others were also ready to follow, but Chen Long stayed and continued to follow. Soon, Su Wei and Chen Long came to the 6th floor of the opposite building and found Liu Min's room number 601. Dong dong. Chen Long went forward and knocked on the door. But no one came to open the door for a long time. Is it too late? Who is it? Just as Su Wei was about to break in, a woman's voice came from the access control. Su Wei. Su Wei stepped forward and said loudly. After a silence inside the door, the sound of unlocking was heard. Mr. Su. I am sorry for not welcoming you. The door opened, and Liu Min was wearing home clothes, showing a good figure. Can I come in and chat? Su Wei said calmly. Of course. After a little hesitation, Liu Min generously made way. The two walked in. A 2-bedroom, 2-living room house with luxurious decoration. It can be seen that the owner knows how to enjoy life. The room is clean and tidy, and there is no trace of abnormality. Drinks or coffee? Liu Min was as lively as ever, and it was impossible to see the shock she had suffered before. Water, thank you. Su Wei sat down on the sofa, and Chen Long stood behind him. Wait a minute. Liu Min went to the bar counter to pour water. During this time, Su Wei asked the artificial intelligence to compare the current Liu Min with the photo taken 2 months ago. But the result was 100% consistent. This made Su Wei frown. Please. Liu Min poured a glass of water in front of Su Wei, and then sat down on another sofa not far from him. Her feet without socks were pulled out of her slippers and stepped on the footstool. Her toes painted with dark red nail polish exuded an attractive glow in the morning sun. Boss Su, you don't suspect that I am colluding with those mercenaries, do you? Liu Min said to Su Wei as if she was the host. These days, people have come to her to investigate and collect evidence, and they are more or less suspicious. It's not suspicion, but confirmation that you are colluding. Su Wei didn't say anything more and went straight to the point. Haha, what a joke. May I ask what evidence you have, Boss Su? Liu Min was not angry, and still asked with a smile. Evidence? You will give it yourself. Su Wei smiled coldly. Huh? What do you mean? Liu Min's face also became stern, and she was obviously angry. You'll know soon, Brother Long. Give her this to drink. Su Wei suddenly smiled mysteriously, then took out a blue-green potion from his pocket and threw it to Chen Long beside him. Yes, boss. Chen Long nodded, took the potion, and walked over meticulously. What is that? Why should I drink it? Now it's a society ruled by law. What do you want to do? Liu Min was immediately frightened and curled up in the sofa in panic. If you resist, it proves that you know martial arts. If you don't resist, then I'll make you feel extremely good. He Su Wei looked at Liu Min with an evil face, as if he was looking at a lamb to be slaughtered. As if to cooperate with Su Wei's bad taste, Qianlong deliberately slowed down his pace, and took heavy steps, creating a suffocating sense of oppression. You, ha 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 ha. Liu Min was panicked at first, but as Qianlong got closer and closer, she suddenly laughed. This made Qianlong stunned. Okay, Mr. Su, the show is over. I don't have time to play with you anymore. Please go back. Liu Min got off the sofa, stood on the ground barefoot, and pointed in the direction of the door. Do you think I'm playing? Su Wei shook his head unmoved. Isn't it? Zhuyi is such a big industry. Mr. Su doesn't want his reputation to be damaged. I'm telling you straight, I have surveillance. Real-time recording, and it's stored in the cloud. If anything happens to me, you can expect to be ruined. Liu Min stared at Su Wei with a strong face and said. It's okay, I have hacked your program. They are all on strike. Su Wei still sat there calmly. These things were discovered when he used artificial intelligence to search for Liu Min's information, and he even watched the surveillance saved in the cloud, but unfortunately there was nothing special. Liu Min was stunned when he heard this, and hurriedly picked up his phone to check. After the program was opened, a bleeding rose was inserted on the black background. This was obviously not a screensaver, let alone an advertisement, but a virus. Liu Min's face suddenly changed. She really couldn't imagine that Su Wei was so powerful that he could even hack into the security system. Tell me the truth, who are you? Su Wei looked calm, as if everything was under his control. I don't understand what you are saying, please leave immediately, or I will call the police. Liu Min's eyes were a little more flustered. You don't stand a chance. Su Wei snapped his fingers, and Liu Min's phone screen instantly went black, and she couldn't open it no matter how hard she pressed. Su Wei, Liu Min looked at Su Wei hatefully, with a look of anger on her face. Brother Long, send her to death. Su Wei was unmoved and waved his hand. Yes, boss. Qianlong grabbed Liu Min's shoulders, opened the medicine with one hand, and was about to pour it into her mouth. Chapter 177, Reverse Scale. Get out of here. When she smelled a pungent smell of medicine, Liu Min couldn't help herself any longer and hit Qianlong's armpit with her elbow. Feeling a huge force coming, Qianlong quickly retracted his hand to block it. Bang! The hand and elbow collided. Qianlong was afraid of damaging the medicine and didn't dare to use his full strength, so he was immediately knocked back half a step. Liu Min immediately escaped from Qianlong's control like a slippery fish. However, Su Wei had moved from the sofa to the door, blocking the way out. Qianlong was also stuck in front of the window. The two formed a pincer attack from the front and back, cutting off Liu Min's escape route. Clap. Su Wei suddenly stretched out his hand and clapped. You are not Liu Min, tell me, who are you? Where are you from? What are you doing here? According to the information, Liu Min was born and raised in Huidu City and has been an ordinary person since childhood. But this Liu Min has already shown extraordinary speed and strength, so the answer is obvious. I admit that I gave up, but I really can't figure out how you found out, Liu Min asked solemnly. To be honest, she is still confused. She asked herself that she had never made any mistakes, but she didn't know why Su Wei was so sure. Mango juice, Su Wei said and showed his mobile phone, which showed the photo of Liu Min eating mango in Kingu. Liu Min was shocked and immediately thought of the quarrel with the clerk yesterday. She never thought that she would be defeated by such a small detail. A mango allergy when I was a child almost killed me, so I remember it clearly. I didn't expect that I would die from mangoes today. Liu Min suddenly woke up. In addition to being shocked by Su Wei's subtle observation, she was more self-deprecating. She actually lost her life because of mangoes. What did she do to mangoes in her previous life? But even so, she would not give in. Suddenly, she was still sighing in the last second, and kicked Su Wei in the face in the next second. The dress slipped down, revealing a pair of long white legs, dazzling the eyes. Hammer. Su Wei was well prepared, and without mercy, he punched the long white legs like lightning. Whoosh! Liu Min immediately changed her tactics halfway through, and turned to rush towards Qianlong. Perhaps she had no intention of attacking Su Wei from the beginning. Ha! Qianlong shouted, and stepped forward to meet the enemy. He had already used the level 9 strengthening potion brought by Su Wei. Although it had not been fully absorbed, his strength was already incomparable. Fortunately, Qianlong did not experience the phenomenon when Su Wei was strengthened at level 9. It seems that Su Wei is just a special case. Bang! The two collided again. But it was obvious that Qianlong's strength was higher, while Liu Min's strength should be less than Platinum Peak Diamond. The two were evenly matched, and it was difficult to tell who was better. In the blink of an eye, 100 moves had passed. In the end, Qianlong won, and hit Liu Min's left shoulder with a punch. With a click, the joint was bruised, and one arm could not be lifted up. Captain, just as Qianlong continued to attack, Liu Min's voice suddenly changed to a male voice, and her face turned into Luo Zicheng's slightly immature baby face. It was just a long black hair that made people look very strange. In a hurry, Qianlong's attack paused instinctively. Liu Min immediately pounced on him and waved her right hand towards his neck. The sharp-eyed Su Wei found a flash of metal between his fingers. "Be careful," Su Wei hurriedly warned. Qianlong immediately raised his head and barely avoided Liu Min's sneak attack. He saw a thin blade between his index and middle fingers. Although he avoided the attack, the door was wide open, and Liu Min took the opportunity to jump to the windowsill. As long as she got out of here, she could be like a fish in the sea, and no one would find her again. Snap! But when Liu Min's hand touched the window, it was difficult to get in any further. Su Wei had already rushed over, grabbed one of her ankles, and pulled her back fiercely. No, Liu Min couldn't help but let out a desperate roar, but the sound stopped abruptly, and Su Wei had already grabbed her throat. Looking at this woman who almost killed her parents, Su Wei's heart was filled with murderous intent. "Tell me, who sent you?" Resisting the murderous intent in his heart, Su Wei's hand on her neck loosened a little. "Ahem, I don't know, I really don't know." At this moment, she returned to her Liu Min's appearance, revealing a pitiful attitude. "Say you can live, not die?" Su Wei's face was cold and unmoved. "Stinky brother, are you going to kill me too?" Suddenly, Xia Wei's voice came from her mouth, and the next second her face turned into Xia Wei's. Su Wei's face changed color instantly, and his steel teeth clenched. Su Wei, then, the Shahi Shuang Shuang, the coquettish Li Zia Omen, and the poor Fang Kaya Okio, one by one, the charming faces flashed in front of Su Wei's eyes, giving people a sense of visual shock. Snap! Su Wei did not hesitate to break her neck. Her face was fixed on a beautiful face that was unparalleled in the world. There was not even a tiny flaw to be found, but her big black and beautiful eyes were filled with extreme confusion and doubt. She couldn't believe that someone would have the heart to destroy such a perfect work of art. "My woman, how can you touch her, even if it's just her appearance?" Su Wei's cold voice sounded, and this was the last voice she heard. As the light in her eyes gradually dimmed, her unparalleled appearance also dissipated, revealing an ordinary woman's face. The only thing worth praising was perhaps her skin, which was delicate and smooth without any flaws. But at this moment, it was also gradually becoming cold. Looking at the completely changed woman, Su Wei didn't feel strange at all. He guessed that the other party had this ability at the beginning. But what surprised him was that this woman was no different from the Xia people in terms of height and appearance. Could it be that there were people from his own country who were causing trouble? Su Wei couldn't help but guess in his heart. Ling. At this time, Qianlong's cell phone rang. "Brother Long, quickly take the bus away, the police are heading over there," Xiao Jun's voice came from the phone. It was probably the noise of the fight just now that attracted the attention of the neighbors, and someone secretly called the police. "Boss, the police are here," Qianlong immediately notified Su Wei. "Clean up the scene, retreat," Su Wei ordered Qianlong. The body of the woman in his hand disappeared in the next second. Although Qianlong was shocked, he did not slow down at all, and quickly cleaned up all the traces in the room. Then the two jumped out of the window. And under the guidance of Xiao Jun, they avoided the eyes of passers-by and landed safely on the ground. After the few people met up, they left Binjiang Garden community together. Just as Su Wei and others left, 3 or 5 policemen came to the door of room 601. They knocked on the door for a long time but no one answered. Chapter 178,000 Faces. After returning, Su Wei contacted Old Xia directly. He explained to him that he had killed an alien with the ability to change other people's appearance, and hoped that Xianlong would send someone to receive him and investigate the origin of this person. Old Xia immediately notified Long Zhenyu, the head of Xianlong. Without saying a word, Long Zhenyu sent Shengwen Li to take away the female corpse in Su Wei's hand. According to the comparison of appearance and ability, the result was soon found. The woman's name is Sanbei Hizi, a member of the Jie Country Shrine, codenamed Qianmian, and belongs to the special forces of Jie Country. 2 months ago, she sneaked into Xia Country and chose Liu Min, who was single, lived alone, and often traveled, as her target. Everything was so seamless. It's no wonder that Xianlong couldn't find Liu Min's abnormality, because Liu Min's identity was indeed real. It's just that someone was replaced by someone else. This matter also involved Jie Country, which surprised Su Wei. But Jie Country is originally a younger brother of the United States, so it's not strange to think about it. In the little notebook in Su Wei's heart, he wrote down another name, Jie Country Shrine. At this point, the attack on Su's father and mother came to an end temporarily, and Su Wei's heart was finally at ease. Just when Su Wei was relaxing and leisurely, in the Liu residence far away in Guancheng, the young master Liu was furious. Why haven't you found any news in these few days? In the same side hall as last time, young master Liu looked at the thin man Zhan Baochen in front of him with a gloomy face. He was asked to investigate who was targeting Xintu Entertainment Company, but now Xintu Entertainment has disappeared, and he has not found out who the other party is. No wonder he was so angry. Young master, the other party disappeared afterwards, and there is no way to find out. Zhan Baochen smiled bitterly. He has used all the power he can use, but still can't find any clues. Waste, young master Liu cursed. Young master, at this moment, the fat boy Juan Eugene ran in from outside. Behind him was a woman and a mess. Lu Jin, young master Liu was a little surprised to see the woman. Young master, this little bitch has been hiding from debts. If I hadn't been lucky enough to catch her today, she would have run away, Juan Eugene said with a face full of credit. Humph, Lu Jin, I have treated you well over the years, haven't I? Why did you do this? Young master Liu temporarily suppressed his anger and asked with an unhappy face. Young master, I'm sorry, it was because I was obsessed with money at that time that I did such a stupid thing, but I really have no money, not a penny. Please, young master, let me go. The haggard Lu Jin was so scared that she knelt down and begged for mercy. In order to make money from the stock market, she not only invested all her savings, but also embezzled the company's contract money. The stock market collapsed and Xintu Entertainment was forced to delist, so she naturally lost all her money. When the company was liquidated, the fact that she embezzled the company's contract money was naturally exposed. But she had no money to fill the hole, and the debt collectors were looking for her everywhere. Lu Jin was scared and hid everywhere. Today, she was really hungry and couldn't stand it anymore. She robbed a bun on the street and was caught. As a result, she ran into Juan Eugene who was passing by and caught her back. Let you go, are you mistaken? It's only natural to pay back debts. My Liu family is not a charity, why should I let you go? Mr. Liu said indifferently. But, I really have no money, Lu Jin said pitifully, and now she didn't look as high-spirited as before. Are you playing tricks on me? If you don't have money, can't you sell it? Mr. Liu looked at Lu Jin with indifference. No, Mr. Please, Lu Jin certainly knew what Mr. Liu meant. She had sent several disobedient artists there before. It was a hell on earth. Once you go in, don't even think about getting out. Take him down. Mr. Liu was unmoved. Juan Eugene immediately called 2 bodyguards to take people away. No, sir, I have news. I know who ruined Xintu. While being dragged, Lu Jin seemed to have grabbed a life-saving straw and shouted heartbreakingly. Wait a minute, young master Liu was immediately attracted by it. Young master, didn't you ask me to sign He Shuang from Angel Studio at all costs? When I went there that day, that Su Wei was there too. When I praised the company's stock price soaring, he said something strange. Lu Jin did not dare to pause and told his story. What did he say? Young master Liu really showed a concerned expression. He said that the stock market is risky and you need to be cautious when entering the market. Now that I think about it, his expression seemed to have known that Xintu's stock would plummet. Oh, no, Xintu's stock might have been caused by him. Lu Jin directly convicted Su Wei. Anyway, it's better to let a fellow Taoist die than to let the poor Taoist die, so it's not bad to drag someone down with him. Are you sure? Young master Liu's eyes narrowed, revealing a hint of cold and fierceness. Sure, 100% sure. That look, that expression, it's like an endless mockery of Xintu. Lu Jin spared no effort to ensure. Only in this way can she get a glimmer of hope. Dragged him down. As a result, Master Liu still waved at the bodyguard. No, 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 Master Liu, I'm still useful. Lu Jin was pale and screamed with all her might, but how could she defeat two burly bodyguards, and she was soon dragged out. In the end, she still couldn't escape the tragic fate. Did the old ghost come back? After everyone left, Master Liu asked Zhuan Eugene on the side. No, Master, the old ghost never came back, and Su Wei is still fine. I guess the old ghost is probably in danger, Zhuan Eugene replied solemnly. Without seeing the person alive or dead, there is no way to know what happened. Bang! Master Liu slapped the solid wood table with one hand, and it was immediately broken into pieces. Sir, there are guests outside the door, the voice of the housekeeper sounded outside the hall. Where are the guests from? In his rage, Master Liu was stunned. Not many people could find this place directly. The capital, the housekeeper replied. Please come. After thinking for a while, Master Liu asked the housekeeper to invite people. The hall was quickly cleaned up and replaced with new mahogany tables and chairs. Master Liu, long time no see, how are you? Housekeeper Liu walked in with a long-haired young man, wearing a pair of gold-rimmed glasses on his face, shining with a hint of cold light. Brother Zan, what brings you here? Please sit down. Master Liu saw the visitor and immediately smiled and said politely. Yes, the visitor was Zan Qishan from the Zan family in the capital, and also Luan Guoqiang's ironclad military advisor. Thank you, Master, Zan Qishan said and sat down below Master Liu. Zhuan Eugene immediately served good tea, which won the master's praise. Zan Baochen, who was standing by, was thinking that this was a bad idea. Brother Zan, how is young Master Luan? After Zan Qishan took a sip of tea, young Master Liu asked. Very well. But I think you are a little troubled, Zan Qishan suddenly said something with a hint of meaning. Oh? Why do you say that, Brother Zan? Young Master Liu's face froze. Chapter 179 Alliance. It's not fair to say anything in a veiled way. Zintu Entertainment was forced to delist, and young Master Luan has paid close attention to it, so he specifically ordered me to come and help you solve your problems. Zan Qishan looked at young Master Liu, who looked a little unnatural, and said with a smile. Thank you for your concern, young Master Luan. I wonder what Brother Zan thinks. Young Master Liu laughed loudly and returned to normal. I guess young Master Liu doesn't know who the enemy is yet, Zan Qishan said with an unfathomable look on his face. I'd like to hear more about it, young Master Liu continued. Su Wei, Zan Qishan gave a direct answer. Why do you think so? Young Master Liu's pupils tightened, but he asked calmly. The U.S. Financial Regulatory Center once issued an announcement to freeze Su Wei's personal account in Migu and prohibit him from entering Migu for life. In addition, not long ago, the U.S. stock market experienced a major earthquake, and countless financial giants were slaughtered. There are rumors online that it was Su Wei's revenge, but I can tell you now that it was indeed Su Wei who did it. We also know that Ins Huchin, Zhuangxun, an internet celebrity under Zintu, offended Su Wei's sister Su Jiao, so Su Wei has reasons and means to retaliate against Zintu. Zan Qishan analyzed one by one. Young Master Liu remained silent and did not speak. Young Master Liu still does not believe it, or are you afraid of Su Wei? Zan Qishan picked up the teacup in front of him and took a sip. How can you talk like that? How can my young master be afraid of this unknown person? Zan Baochen said with an unhappy face. Shut up, you have no right to speak here. Young Master Liu immediately stopped him. Yes, sir. Zan Baochen quickly shut up. Brother Zan, I'm sorry to embarrass you. How could I not trust you? I was just thinking about something just now, so I neglected it, young Master Liu explained with a smile. No problem, after all, we are in the same camp. Only by looking out for each other can we have long-term peace and stability. Right, by the way, I forgot to say that the powerful weapons that Xianlong has made recently are all related to the hydrogen metal donated by Su Wei. Zan Qishan threw out another heavy news. Xianlong and Yonghang Palace have never been on good terms. Now that Xianlong has obtained a new weapon bonus, its strength has greatly increased, which makes Yonghang Palace very unhappy. Guanchang Liu family is one of the members of Yonghang Palace. Sure enough, after hearing this news, young Master Liu's face suddenly darkened. Brother Zan is right, we should look out for each other. Count me in to deal with Su Wei, young Master Liu made a direct statement. Su Wei, who was far away in Huadu City, naturally didn't know that his two opponents had planned to join forces. He returned to his routine life and continued to deal in supplies. Although the Phaeton base has begun to recover agriculture, it will take some time to harvest. It is worth mentioning that a girl named Wang Qi in the medical department has actually formulated a growth-promoting agent that shortens the original growth cycle of crops by half. For example, a crop of rice was originally cultivated once a year, but after using the growth-promoting agent, it can be cultivated twice a year in the same period of time, and the harvest is doubled. This is amazing. Su Wei specially awarded Wang Qi the Base Contribution Award and promoted her to the Deputy Director of the Medical Department. This is to encourage everyone to do more research and innovation. During this period, an interesting thing happened. That is, the grain seeds that Su Wei brought from the modern world were planted in the experimental field and prepared as seedlings, but there was no movement for a long time. Wang Qi and others were anxious, thinking that something went wrong. In the end, they couldn't find the problem, so they could only report it to Su Wei. He remembered that living objects could not be stored in the storage space, so these seeds died the moment they entered the space. How can it sprout if it is dead? This made Su Wei a little annoyed. Fortunately, some unmutated seeds were found in the wild later, which saved Su Wei. That afternoon, after Su Wei finished dealing with the supplies, he returned to Yunshujian from Jinxiu Garden. As soon as he arrived at the gate of the community, he was shocked. Media reporters and internet celebrities gathered here, blocking the road. In the end, it was the efforts of the security personnel that allowed Su Wei's car to pass smoothly and enter the community. After entering, Su Wei found that there were several strangers squatting inside, being questioned by the security personnel. After asking around, he found out that these people were actually the dog team. Including those outside the gate, they all came for a Shuang. Hey, didn't Shuang go to shoot the album promotional video? Did she come back early? Thinking of this, Su Wei drove directly to Courtyard 3. Sure enough, as soon as he entered the door, he saw Shuang and the main members of Angel Studio. Su Wei, Shuang hurriedly got up to greet him. Why did you come back early? Did the filming go well? Su Wei smiled and looked at the girl in front of him. Although she already has the potential to become a big star, she still hasn't changed much. That's good. Yeah, it went very well. I finished the filming ahead of time, so I came back early. Shuang took Su Wei's arm and took him to the table to sit down. There were some fresh fruits and an open bottle of red wine on the table. That's good, you can take the opportunity to rest for 2 days, you are a big star now. When I came back just now, the media reporters blocked the door. Su Wei couldn't help but tease. Alice, hearing Su Wei's words, Shuang couldn't help but smile bitterly. What's wrong, isn't it good to be a big star? Su Wei asked curiously. I don't know how many people yearn for it. Alice, it's just that it's inconvenient to go anywhere, and I have to be careful in everything I do. I'm afraid of being secretly photographed and causing negative effects. Shuang frowned and complained. Well, leave it to me. I'll find a way. Su Wei thought he could go to the wasteland to find some things to help Shuang out. Really? Shuang immediately showed a look of surprise. Of course, when have I ever lied to you? Su Wei looked very proud. Yet, Shuang immediately smiled and nodded. She had absolute trust in Su Wei's promise. After chatting for a while, Su Wei got up and left, returning to courtyard number 1. Shuang and others continued to discuss the follow-up work of the album. When Su Wei returned to courtyard number 1, he saw Xia Wei's car driving in. So he waited on the side. Shangwen Weiner should be the one driving today. After getting off the car, she glared at Su Wei unconvinced. Her sister told her that she had taken Su Wei as her teacher and learned sniping. But she just didn't believe Su Wei was that good, thinking that her sister had been deceived, and wanted to challenge Su Wei at any time. Unfortunately, Su Wei didn't have the time to play with the children, so he refused directly. Xia Wei and Shangwen Fei got down from the back seat and smiled at Su Wei. You're back. Are you tired today? Su Wei also smiled and greeted him, holding Xia Wei's slender hand and asked. Fortunately, everything has started to run normally recently, and there are fewer things to do. Xia Wei held Su Wei's big hand in return, and the two of them interlocked their fingers tacitly. That's good. Let's go in together, Su Wei said and walked towards the yard. Xiaohu, let Xiaoman help me, Xia Wei suddenly said this while walking. Su Wei stopped when he heard it. Is he looking for trouble? Degree, or what? Do you think he's jealous? You stinky little brother. Xia Wei knew what Su Wei was thinking when she saw his expression, and couldn't help but stretched out her hand to pinch his arm. No. Su Wei swallowed the word more guiltily. Chapter 180 Phantom Demon. Now the company is growing faster and faster. I am a little overwhelmed. I need a few trustworthy people to share the burden. I have thought about it. Let Xiaoman be in charge of Ziwei Pharmaceutical. With her loyalty to you, I think it will be foolproof, Xia Wei explained softly. Okay, I have no objection, Su Wei agreed immediately. That's good. I will invite Xiaoman to have tea tomorrow. Xia Wei smiled, and all the beauties in the palace were pale. Thank you, Sister Wei. Su Wei couldn't help feeling guilty. He didn't expect Xia Wei to be so generous. No need, since you saved me and the Xia family, I will only belong to you in this life, Xia Wei said with emotion. Sister Wei, stinky brother, the two stared at each other, feeling each other's love. Ahem, please, can you two make way first? Unfortunately, at this moment, a teasing voice came. It turned out to be Shangwen Weiner, who was looking at the two with an unhappy face, while Shangwen Fair stood aside with a slightly blushing face. The scene was a little awkward. Ahem, let's go. Su Wei and Xia Wei then remembered that they had two little followers, and hurriedly walked towards the backyard. When they walked into the backyard, everyone was there, and Su's mother was busy in the kitchen alone. Since she was not going out to travel for the time being, Su's mother was a little restless and insisted on cooking for herself. Su Wei had no choice but to let her do it after persuading her for a long time. Auntie, I'll help you. Xia Wei immediately left Su Wei to help in the kitchen. Su Wei went upstairs to call Li Xiaoman. Hello, big boss, do you have a new task? When the phone was connected, Li Xiaoman's coquettish voice was heard. Xiaoman, I want to tell you something. Although he couldn't see it, Su Wei still had an embarrassed smile on his face. Huh? Go ahead, Li Xiaoman asked casually. Well, why don't you come to work at Ziwei Group? I'll give you the position of general manager, Su Wei said directly. Why? Li Xiaoman was obviously stunned. The company is expanding a bit too fast now, and we are short of manpower, especially trustworthy people. Sister Wei suggested that you manage the newly established Ziwei Pharmaceutical, Su Wei explained. Sister Wei suggested it. Li Xiaoman's voice was a little hesitant. Well, Sister Wei felt a little overwhelmed, so she wanted to ask you to help. We are all family members, so I feel more at ease. Su Wei couldn't help but touch his nose, feeling like he had turned into a big bad wolf. Bah! Who says you are family members? Li Xiaoman spat shyly. If we are not from the same family, we should not enter the same door. Humph, you are so beautiful. Xiaoman, tell me the truth. What do you think? Do you want me to go? Or do you not want me to go? Of course I hope you can accept it. But everything depends on your wishes. It doesn't matter if you don't want to come. We can find someone else. Okay, I agree. But, just what? What about the purchasing company? It's okay, you can hand it over to Huden. The purchase volume of materials will gradually decrease in the future. It's not a big problem. Oh, okay, when will I take office? Sister Wei will invite you to have tea tomorrow, and we will talk about it in detail then. Okay, I know. Thank you Xiaoman. Love you okay. 3, Bah, you dead look. I'm dead, I'm home. Yeah, touch me. The next day, Su Wei went to Jingxiu Garden and then teleported to the wasteland world. After throwing the materials to the warehouse, Su Wei went straight to the Ministry of Science and Technology and found Ji Tongguang. Old Ji, is there any high-tech that can change your appearance? Boss, do you want a permanent change or a temporary change? Ji Tongguang asked back. Of course it's temporary, just to disguise and confuse the enemy. Su Wei briefly described the needs. Boss, before the catastrophe, there was a spy equipment that should be able to meet your needs. Ji Tongguang immediately understood Su Wei's requirements. Spy equipment? Su Wei looked curious. Yes, this equipment is called Phantom, and it looks like a pair of glasses, but it uses holographic image processing technology and artificial intelligence correction system, which can change the wearer's appearance and make it difficult to distinguish with the naked eye. The only disadvantage is that you need to wear glasses, and you can't let others touch it, because light and shadow can only deceive the eyeball. There is no touch. Once it is touched, it will be easily discovered. Ji Tongguang called up the information on the bracelet, and then enlarged the picture in the air in front of Sue. This is good, simple and convenient. Can the base manufacture it now? Sue looked at the introduction and immediately made a decision. Sure, boss. At present, the base has hydrogen metal and a wave engraving machine. I can make my own ultra microchips, which are enough to meet the requirements. Ji Tongguang nodded. Okay, arrange it. Make 2 for me first to test the effect. Sue was overjoyed. Okay, boss. Do you need any style? Men's or women's? Ji Tongguang opened the record book and began to record. 1 for men and 1 for women. Sue looked at the picture in the air for reference. Okay, boss. Do you have any color requirements? Ji Tongguang's scene was like a private order. But I like it. Minister Ji, oh, the boss is here too. While the two were discussing the magic glasses, Wang Bowen walked in and greeted Su Wei when he saw him. Hey, Lao Wang, your arm? When Su Wei looked up at Wang Bowen, he was stunned. He originally had only one arm, but now he was standing there intact, and even his missing left hand was holding something similar to a Rubik's Cube. Boss, this is the latest technology revival product of the Ministry of Science and Technology, a robotic arm. Before Wang Bowen opened his mouth, Ji Tongguang introduced it with a bright face. It uses high-grade alloy as the skeleton and is equipped with an artificial intelligence system. As long as the brain waves are synchronized with the receiver, it can be driven like one's own arm. When introducing it, Ji Tongguang tore off Wang Bowen's sleeves, revealing a shiny metal bracket robotic arm. It moves synchronously with Wang Bowen's consciousness and is very flexible. The Rubik's Cube-like thing is used to hone the proficiency of the robotic arm. After the test is completed, it will be attached with a layer of artificial skin, and then it will be the same as the real thing. Awesome. Awesome. Su Wei's eyes lit up. This is equivalent to the art of limb reconstruction. Although it is mechanical, it is 1,000 times better than disability, isn't it? Haha, boss, you are too kind. This is just the simplest thing. In fact, our goal is a mecha, Ji Tongguang said excitedly. Fuck, mecha. Is there really such a thing? Su Wei was stunned. Yes, before the cataclysm, a mechanical company had completed the design and manufacture of a first-generation mecha that was prepared for the formation of an interstellar fleet and the exploration of the universe. Ji Tongguang continued to popularize science to Su Wei. Where is it? Su Wei's heart was immediately moved. Mecha. That's a man's dream. If I build one and put it in space, who dares to mess with me? By then, even the President of the United States will be helpless. According to the data, during the cataclysm, all the mechas were taken to outer space by the fugitives. I wonder what's going on now. Ji Tongguang looked regretful and hateful. The so-called fugitives are humans who fled to outer space on spaceships during the cataclysm. It would be fine if they just ran away, but they brazenly launched a nuclear explosion and wanted to destroy the surface of the Earth. This is undoubtedly murder. Therefore, the survivors on the surface now regard them as fugitives. Chapter 181 Power Armor. What a pity. Su Wei felt cold after hearing this. Under the current conditions, it would probably take more than 10 years to build a mecha. Don't be discouraged, work hard, I think you will succeed. Su Wei patted Ji Tongguang on the shoulder and comforted him. As a good leader, you must be able to encourage your subordinates and keep them in a state of chicken blood at all times. Yes, boss, we will definitely work hard. Sure enough, Ji Tongguang's eyes were shining and he cried out. Hey, what is this? There seemed to be a strange thing mixed in the mecha picture that Ji Tongguang showed. Compared with the tall and mighty mecha, it can be described as Zhiazhen. So Su Wei pointed at it curiously and asked, Boss, this is a power armor, a device that can improve the load-bearing, endurance, and impact resistance of ordinary people, but it's useless now, Ji Tongguang said and wanted to delete it. This may be something he didn't notice when he was guiding the information from the intelligent brain and packed it down. Wait, don't delete it. Su Wei quickly stopped Ji Tongguang, then slid his hands and carefully studied this set of power armor. Is this thing bulletproof and explosion-proof? Su Wei asked as he looked at it. It can protect against ordinary gun bullets. But if it is replaced with high-grade alloy, it can resist most sniper rifles and even missile attacks, Ji Tongguang said after pushing his glasses. Nice, Su Wei's eyes lit up. Boss, bulletproof vests are much simpler than this, why bother? Ji Tongguang looked at Su Wei in confusion. The enhancer already has enough power, why bother to add a power device? Can't you just hang a few alloy plates on the body? Simple and crude. You make sense. For a moment, Su Wei couldn't refute it, but he didn't plan to use it for the enhancer, right? But I don't plan to use it for the enhancer. Su Wei was silent for a while, and then continued. Who is it for? Ji Tongguang and Wang Boing were confused. For ordinary survivors, Su Wei said with an unfathomable look on his face. Ji Tongguang and Wang Boing were still confused. For the stability of the base, we can't strengthen everyone, right? Generally speaking, there are more ordinary people. We have started to revive agriculture now. In the future, there will be a lot of heavy physical labor, and even farming in the wild full of zombies. Who will guarantee their safety? We can't send the same strengtheners to protect them, right? That would bring a huge burden to the base. So, this kind of power armor is the best choice. It can not only improve the labor efficiency of the workers, but also defend against the claws and bites of ordinary zombies. Su Wei's thoughts flowed and finally turned to the result he wanted. Boss, you want to equip the workers with power armor? Ji Tongguang and Wang Boing were stunned by Su Wei's idea. That's too extravagant, right? Isn't it possible? Su Wei rolled his eyes, and the spirit of a cuckold was rising. I finally found such an excuse. How can I let you overturn it again? Okay. Seeing that the boss was a little unhappy, Ji Tongguang and Wang Boing immediately nodded, indicating that it was okay. You are the boss and you have the final say. No one cares if you equip a mecha, let alone a power armor. Don't take it lightly. If you reserve a weapon rack on it, it will be a reserve force that can be used as a farmer in peacetime and a soldier in wartime. It will come when called and fight when it comes. Seeing that the two were a little perfunctory, Su Wei further explained. Boss, smart. Ji Tongguang and Wang Boing couldn't help but give a thumbs up. The boss is the boss, and the perspective of thinking about problems is always different from that of ordinary people. Why can't they think of it? Especially Wang Boing, who is full of special operations and elite troops, but has no concept of all people as soldiers. Then let's test the waters with 100 sets first. Su Wei made the decision directly. Boss, there's a problem with this, Ji Tongguang said weakly. What's the problem? Su Wei asked. Boss, most of the parts are now made by hand. It may be okay to make 1 or 2 sets, but I'm afraid it will take 1 or 2 years to make 100 sets, Ji Tongguang said with a sad face. What do you need? Su Wei was ruthless. Isn't it just equipment? Easy. Mainly lathes, automated lathes. In addition, a large number of electronic components are needed, and the base does not have the production capacity yet, Ji Tongguang said hurriedly. Is there any near Jinquan City? Su Wei asked again. Yes, but it is very dangerous. Ji Tongguang's face changed. Where is it? Su Wei was not afraid at all. In the high-tech development zone of Jinquan City, Ji Tongguang said. Old Wang, let's go to the combat meeting room. Su Wei left without saying anything. Yes, boss. Wang Bowen threw the Rubik's Cube in his hand to Ji Tongguang, and then followed him out. A few minutes later, all the senior officials of the Armed Forces Department entered the combat meeting room. Minister Zhang Ling, Deputy Minister Yu Na, Chief Instructor Wang Bowen, Investigation Team Leader Su Ziyadong, Special Operations Team Leader Li Yunlei, familiar faces appeared at the conference table. Su Wei mobilized so many troops, not without reason, because the high-tech development zone of Jinquan City was marked in red on the map. The safe zone is indicated by green, the general zone is indicated by blue, the general danger zone is indicated by yellow, the danger zone is indicated by red, and the extremely dangerous zone is indicated by purple. 10 years have passed since the disaster, and the survivors have only been active on the edge of the danger zone at most. And this time, if you want to get the required equipment and electronic components, you must go deep into the danger zone, which undoubtedly involves huge risks. This is what happened, and this is the situation. Su Wei briefly introduced to everyone why they had to go to the danger zone to get equipment. When they heard that ordinary survivors would be equipped with power armor, everyone present, except Wang Boang, was stunned. Perhaps you will think this is unnecessary, but what is our goal? To build a true paradise on the wasteland. Peace, stability, and happiness will never fall from the sky. We need to defend them. How to defend? Of course, with force. What will the large number of reinforced armed personnel eat and drink? The base now has several people supporting one combatant, but as the base expands and develops, it will become one person supporting several combatants. Without strong logistics, the base will collapse at any time. Su Wei's low voice echoed in the conference room. Second, Zhang Ling and Yu Na took the lead in voting. Second, the others followed suit. Chapter 182 Departure. Jinquan High-Tech Development Zone is located in the western district of the city, about 100 kilometers away from the Phaeton base. It is one of the earliest development zones in Jinquan City, so its geographical location is close to Jinquan City. Coupled with its good development prospects, it has attracted a large number of people to move in. According to official data, the population of the high-tech development zone had reached hundreds of thousands before the disaster. In other words, there is a high probability of encountering a tide of corpses. Moreover, with the large base, there must be many evolved alien species, and the road is bound to be full of thorns. Despite this battle is inevitable. In addition to equipment, another purpose this time is to train soldiers. With the expansion of the base, it has attracted many scavengers from the surrounding area to come and join. With the addition of 4 sub-bases, the population has unknowingly reached 5,000, and the number of armed personnel has reached more than 2,000. But only a small number of Special Forces members have really been trained, and most of them are still recruits. So Su Wei decided to draw more than 1,000 armed personnel from various departments to carry out this mission. The team leaders are Su Wei, Zhang Ling and Yuna. Originally, Wang Boang strongly requested to participate in the battle, wanting to experience the strength of his mechanical arm, but was directly rejected by Su Wei. His value is much higher than that of a soldier who charges into battle. With him, qualified soldiers can be trained continuously. The action plan was determined, and everyone had 1 day to prepare. Su Wei took time to return to the modern world. He dealt with the important matters at hand, and then informed others that he needed to be away on business for a while, and his mobile phone could not be used normally. If there was anything, please leave a message, and he would deal with it when he saw it. The next morning, a team of thousands of people gathered in the open space in front of the base gate. Wearing green jungle camouflage, wearing Iron Forge's homemade steel helmets, and carrying the base's own guns, each one was murderous and particularly powerful. For the convenience of calling, Su Wei named it Army A, and the ones left behind were Army B. After a simple speech of encouragement, the large army set off on the road and marched westward. Due to the large number of people this time, it was impossible for everyone to use vehicles instead of walking, so they could only rely on walking. There were only more than a dozen all-terrain transport vehicles accompanying them to transport supplies. Su Wei's big guy was also in the line. This will slow down the march, and it is expected to take 2 or 3 days to arrive. If something unexpected happens on the road, the time will be extended. However, this is nothing. The more problems are exposed now, the better it is for Phaeton. At least, there is still a chance to make up for it. The air in the wilderness is still good. Most of the nuclear dust has been absorbed by plants, but this has caused more than 80% of the plants to have toxins, and animals and insects eat these plants, and the toxins will accumulate in their bodies. This cycle has formed a new ecosystem, but humans are excluded from it. The journey at the beginning was quite easy. The area near the base has been cleaned up and belongs to the safe zone. With a continuous repair of Iron Forge, metal can be smelted, so the abandoned vehicles and steel in the surrounding area will be transported to Iron Forge for recycling, and then forged into the required metal. The road has become wider. Along the way, you can encounter a large number of scavengers, active on this land. Now they have a lot more targets to choose from. Mutated medicinal herbs, metals, electronic components, and various materials can all be brought to the Phaeton base for trading, greatly improving the quality of life. Some people even earn enough food for strengthening potions to exchange for strengthening potions for strengthening. Then go to the more distant general area or even the general dangerous area to try your luck. The more dangerous the place, the greater the profit, which is an eternal truth. Hearing that Phaeton was going to the high-tech zone to search for supplies, some brave scavengers immediately followed behind. Following the great god, even if you can't eat meat, you can always drink some soup. This is definitely a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for scavengers. Of course, the risks are also huge, and the slightest carelessness will lead to the destruction of the group. Boss, there are many scavengers following behind. Do you want to drive them away? During the march, Li Yanli, the captain of the Special Operations Brigade, ran to Su Wei for advice. In this short half-day, hundreds of people gathered behind. No, there is strength in numbers, and we can't search such a large area by ourselves. Anyway, the supplies will eventually be gathered in the hands of the base. Su Wei shook his head and said, "Yes, Boss, Li Yanli bowed. Captain Li, we should send someone to warn them. If you want to get rich, you should be obedient, otherwise you will be shot on the spot, Zhang Ling on the side said coldly. In the wasteland, she has seen too many people who repay kindness with enmity and are ungrateful. Yes, Minister, Li Yanli glanced at Su Wei and immediately took the order. In the wasteland, good people don't live long. After Li Yanli left, Zhang Ling looked at Su Wei and said, Haha, you are here, I feel relieved when you are checking. Su Wei smiled and looked nonchalant. It feels good to be cared for. Zhang Ling snorted in anger. Sister Ling, brother is deliberately irritating you. If you are really angry, you will lose. Yuna on the side interrupted with a smile. Huh? Zhang Ling obviously looked unconvinced. This way, brother will know whether sister has him in her heart. Yuna is a little devil, and she speaks very logically. Bah. Bad guy. Zhang Ling blushed upon hearing this, and glared at Su Wei. But the latter smiled even more proudly, making Zhang Ling feel even more shy. Ziona, I'll take you for a ride. Zhang Ling turned her head away and simply didn't look at him. Okay. Yuna nodded happily. Hush. Zhang Ling blew a whistle, and Xiao Bai, who was napping on the transport vehicle, immediately ran over. The two girls turned over and rode on it. Hey, you guys are not going to leave me alone, are you? Su Wei, who was standing aside, was immediately unhappy and shouted hurriedly. Go slowly by yourself, we don't have time to accompany you. With that, Zhang Ling drove Xiao Bai out, and they disappeared in the blink of an eye. Su Wei sighed, not knowing whether to laugh or cry, and continued to hurry on his way. Who told him to say that he would have to share the joys and sorrows with his soldiers along the way? You have to finish the road you have chosen, even if you cry. No, I changed my mind. In the future, armed personnel will also be equipped with power armor. If nothing else, it is necessary to improve mobility. After setting the automatic navigation, you can reach the destination while sleeping. How cool. It can also save energy and get into battle faster and better. Nice. Let's do it. Thinking of this, Su Wei seemed to have gained endless motivation and walked forward hard. The soldiers on the side were immediately encouraged by the boss's passionate look. They quickened their pace following the boss and began to jog unconsciously. One person told 10, 10 told 100, and 100 told 1,000. A wave of forced marches began without any warning. The scavengers behind hesitated for a long time, wondering if something had happened. Should they continue to follow? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 183 Warming Up. After a day, the army advanced more than 70 kilometers. It could have gone further, but the front was already a general danger zone marked as yellow. Considering that the army needed a safe area to rest at night, Su Wei ordered to set up camp on the spot. The soldiers began to work together, chopping trees and piling up soil. Soon they built a camp that could withstand the attacks of groups of zombies. These are the contents of daily training, so everything looks so well organized. As for the scavengers who followed, they either lived in tents or drilled into the ruins. They would not bother to build a camp because it would not be worth the loss for them. At dusk, bursts of smoke floated in the camp. The aroma of rice and bacon in the air made people salivate, and the soup made from dehydrated vegetables was definitely a delicious delicacy in the wasteland world. At this time, Xiao Bei, who had gone out to have fun, ran back with Binghu Oshungzhou on his back, which was particularly beautiful in the sunset. Xiao Bei ran to Su Wei to please him as soon as possible. Needless to say, he must be greedy. Hey, you guys went to take a shower. Su Wei looked at his children's hair, which was still a little wet, and felt regretful. We found a clear lake. There was no danger, so we went in the water to swim a few laps, Yuna said with a smile on her face. Huh? Such a fun thing, you didn't even call me. Su Wei regretted it even more when he heard it. Huh? Nana, let's go to eat. Zhang Ling glanced at Su Wei, and pulled Yuna to the dining area. Brother, come quickly. After feeding Xiao Bei, Yuna waved to Su Wei as she walked. Well, she turned into a poor groom in an instant. AWW. Xiao Bei, who was impatient at the side, even called out twice to remind Su Wei. I know, Su Wei said as he led it to the big transport truck, where its snack was. After dinner, except for those who were patrolling and standing guard, everyone else took the time to rest. Su Wei set up a tent next to the big transport truck, ready for the three of them to spend a good night together. But Zhang Ling was thin-skinned and refused to agree. In the end, Su Wei, in the spirit of shamelessness, finally realized his dream of being embraced by both sides. Although it was not really ecstasy, it was a good sign that Zhang Ling could compromise like this. I told you to swim without me. The next day, we continued to march. But today's speed dropped significantly, because we entered the yellow area and the degree of danger increased suddenly. Not long after the march, we encountered several sporadic zombie attacks. God knows where they came from, hiding in inconspicuous corners, and some even grew a thick layer of moss on their bodies. As long as there are living things passing by, they will suddenly attack and hurt people, making it hard to guard against. Fortunately, the soldiers not only wore bulletproof vests, but also steel arm guards, so they would not be easily bitten and scratched in these unexpected attacks. For safety reasons, Su Wei immediately sent Li Yanlei's team to explore the way in all directions to avoid accidents in the large army. Stray bullets are not a joke. With a large army leading the way, the scavengers behind were comfortable. They followed leisurely all the way and had time to explore the nearby ruins. If they were lucky, they could get a good harvest. Su Wei and his team turned a blind eye to this. They didn't even look down on the soup. Near noon, the marching team suddenly stopped. What's going on ahead? Su Wei climbed onto the roof of the transport vehicle and looked through the canopy with his hands. But nothing unusual happened. Brother, I'll go to the front to take a look, Yuna suggested. No need, they're coming, Su Wei said and jumped off the roof. He saw Li Yanlei and Wei Jun rushing over here. Boss, a small tide of corpses was found ahead. If we take a detour, it will probably take another day to walk. When the two came up, Wei Jun said to Su Wei and others. The reconnaissance team set out on the road a day in advance to explore the road for the large army. At this time, Su Xiaodong was still staring at the front. How big is the scale? Su Wei couldn't help but frown slightly. It is estimated that there are about 5,000 or 6,000, but the level of the leading alien has not been detected. It is estimated to be at least a general level. Wei Jun immediately gave the detailed information. How about we do it? Su Wei glanced at the sky, and then looked at Zhang Ling and others with an inquiring look. Do it, Li Yanlei immediately supported. Well, this place is close to the base, so it is better to clean it up. To avoid trouble in the future, Zhang Ling also nodded. Okay, then do it, go, call the people, let's have a pre-war meeting. Su Wei immediately made the decision. Soon, the generals of the A army were called over, and with them came a big bald head, who was very eye-catching. It was Zhang Bao, the leader of the Sandsdong gang. He heard that Su Wei was going to make a big move, so he brought the elite of the Sandsdong gang to join the battle. In his words, it was to follow the boss to eat delicious food and drink spicy drinks. Boss, is there a war to fight? As soon as they met, Zhang Bao asked excitedly. Now his life is very leisurely. As the base's demand for metal materials grows, Iron Forge's status naturally rises. It has overshadowed the other three sub-bases, so the treatment is naturally much better. Well, warm up everyone, Su Wei said, and asked Wei Jun to call up the map and explain the situation in detail. Then the attack plan was assigned. The special forces will support the two wings, and the A army will be the main force of the attack in the middle. At the same time, the A army will leave a part of the people to monitor the scavengers in the rear. You can't be without a sense of defense. After the arrangement was completed, the team started again. However, everyone's momentum has changed now. Knowing that there is a battle to be fought, everyone has become eager to fight. After training more on weekdays, everyone is eager to fight with real swords and guns. It must be said that the survivors of the wasteland are really tough. Either they have experienced the disaster for 10 years, or they were born to survive. There is no doubt that they are brave, one is bigger than the other. The only thing to be trained is mutual coordination and cooperation. Because this is a large-scale battle, not a lone adventurer. As if feeling the tranquility on the eve of the war, the scavengers behind gathered together, looking a little nervous. After more than half an hour of silent and rapid march, they finally reached the place Wei Jun mentioned. From a distance, it should be an abandoned community. Most of the densely packed buildings collapsed in the shock wave of the nuclear explosion. leaving only the foundations of the remaining buildings like short stumps standing in the ruins. For some reason, there are no big trees here, only weeds and thorny bushes, full of a desolate and dilapidated atmosphere. Chapter 184 The Stifling Old Lay. Boss, when he came to where Su Xiaodong was, he could see the whole community very clearly. Su Wei took out a telescope and looked into the community. He felt his scalp tingling immediately. The zombies were crowded in the open space of the ruins, almost to the point of being shoulder to shoulder. Due to the long time, the clothes on these zombies were already ragged, and some were even naked. Unfortunately, they were starving and skinny, with no aesthetic sense at all. It seems that it is not only humans who are suffering in the wasteland, but also these zombies. Boss, everything is ready. After a while, Wei Jun came to report. Okay, let's start. Su Wei waved and continued to observe through the telescope. Su Wei, several large speakers that were brought from nowhere suddenly sounded outside the ruins of the community, playing a divine song that made people's heads buzz. Fuck, who picked this song? Su Wei couldn't help but complain. The melody made people's back teeth sore. Hey, I guess it's Lale, that sultry guy, Su Xiaodong said with a smirk. I really didn't see it, Su Wei said with some surprise. Here they come, here they come. At this time, the zombies in the community rushed towards the place where the sound came from like wasps whose nests were poked. Looking at the swarm of zombies, many soldiers turned pale. This is the time to test the skills of daily training 100 meters, 80 meters shoot. At the command of the sergeant, the soldiers immediately pulled the trigger, and the machine guns in their hands sprayed out flames, and bullets rained down on the zombies that rushed over. In such a dense formation, there is no need to worry about the hit rate. Even if the zombies cannot be killed, they can be paralyzed and fall to the ground. You know, the current single soldier configuration is a large caliber, high-rate machine gun, which can instantly tear their hands and feet apart and make them lose their ability to move. There is no market for small power guns in the wasteland. Roar! Suddenly, a roar came from the ruins. It's a different species. Su Wei heard the cry and hurriedly looked through the telescope. Unfortunately, the other party was still hiding in the ruins and did not come out. However, with a roar, several powerful zombies more than 2 meters tall jumped out from the shadow of the ruins, land tanks. The muscles on their bodies were intertwined, and some parts of them had evolved black carapace-like cuticles. It was like wearing a bulletproof vest. The most bizarre thing was that each land tank had 2 agile sports javelins hanging on its back, which were the kind that ran very fast on all fours. I saw several land tanks rushing towards the soldiers' positions under the rain of bullets. The bullets of large caliber, high-speed machine guns hit them, bursting into blood and tearing off pieces of muscle, but compared to their strong bodies, it was difficult to cause fatal damage. Because there was thick black cuticle on their chests and heads, machine gun bullets could only leave a shallow crater. Several land tanks were getting closer and closer, attracting most of the firepower. Although more and more muscles were knocked off, and even the white bones were exposed, they were not afraid and felt no pain, and continued to move closer to the soldiers' positions. At the same time, the ordinary zombies rushed forward more frantically, pressing the soldiers to the point that they were almost out of breath. Hold on, disperse the firepower. Don't mess up the formation, the sergeant shouted desperately. In battle, it's all about psychological quality. If you mess up first, you will definitely fail. Boom, boom, boom. As the land tanks crossed the cordon, a rocket flew out of the soldiers' camp and hit the target accurately. Although the land tanks have amazing defense, the power of the rockets is incomparable. The relatively fragile joints cannot withstand the shock wave of the explosion and break. 2 of the land tanks fell to the ground immediately. Ah, it's done. Seeing such a result, the soldiers suddenly burst into excited shouts, and the original sense of oppression was reduced a little. Roar! However, before the excited shouts ended, the remaining land tanks reached back with both hands and threw the 2 javelins on their backs into the air. The huge throwing force made the javelins jump over the fire blockade and fall towards the position. Not good, sniper lock. The rest of the personnel maintained the fire blockade. The non-commissioned officers were scared and shouted loudly. If a javelin fell into the camp, it would cause huge damage and might even disrupt the formation, allowing the zombies on the opposite side to rush through the blockade. Bang! 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 The snipers in the army camp began to show their power, aiming at the zombies falling from the sky and shooting. The javelins turned into corpses while still in the air. But one javelin turned over in the air and successfully avoided the sniper's lock. Bang bang bang. Other snipers came to support, but they were in a hurry and failed to hit the target. The javelin was about to fall to the ground, and even the soldiers could see its sharp claws. Bang! At the critical moment, Zhang Ling took action. A few hundred meters away, she shot the javelin in the head. The body fell to the ground with a bang like a broken sack, deader than dead. This made the surrounding soldiers couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Ayo how! At this time, the roar of the alien species came from the ruins again. The crazy attacking zombies stopped suddenly, and then turned around and ran towards the ruins of the community. They came and went in a hurry. Only the zombie corpses and broken limbs were left on the ground, estimated to be 2,000 to 3,000. Obviously, the alien species realized that the casualties were too high and didn't want to continue to sacrifice in vain. But Su Wei and his men didn't plan to give up and ordered a pursuit. Working groups, don't advance rashly, and clean them up one by one, the sergeants shouted to the soldiers. The army broke up into small groups and slowly entered the ruins of the community. The scattered zombies along the way were quickly cleared. Roar, roar, roar. As if sensing the enemy's invasion, the alien species let out angry roars, like a warning, and like a threat. Hey, that guy is angry, let's go and take a look, Su Wei stood up and said. Yes, boss, Su Xiaodong immediately led his men to follow. The ruins of the community were full of gunshots, roars, and commands. Su Wei found Zhang Ling and Yu Na, who were leading their men to attack the ruins where the alien species roars came from. Here, a large number of ordinary zombies gathered, as well as several general-level zombies of various shapes. Being able to control low-level zombies is only one of their abilities, and each of them has a hidden combat capability. In front of them were 3 power-type land tanks, 2 agility-type sports javelins, and an elemental-type fire zombie. Chapter 185 Enemies meet on a narrow road. Nana, you have a chance to reach level 5, seeing the fiery zombie. Su Wei's face suddenly showed a big smile. Yet, Sister Xiaoling, you have to help me. Yu Na's 2 big eyes narrowed into a line with laughter. Yet, Zhang Ling nodded coolly. Bang bang bang. As they were talking, the special forces had already launched an attack. Thanks to the powerful firepower support, ordinary zombies were cut down one after another like cutting leeks. 3 general-level land tanks roared forward angrily, and 2 general-level sports javelins followed closely behind, intending to rush forward and kill the enemy with the cover of the land tanks. However, they were facing the special forces, the elites selected from the soldiers, all level 8 enhancers, and several level 9 enhancers. The 2 general-level hounds rushed up and were quickly dismembered by several special forces members. Boom! The general-level fiery zombie also began to show its power. As for the lethality, we have to look at this kind of elemental aliens. The fireballs as big as a basin hit them and exploded. Evolvers of the same level dared not resist them. The special forces were immediately pressed back. Hundreds of ordinary zombies immediately swarmed in, making the special forces a little exhausted. Bang! At this time, Zhang Ling opened fire and broke one of the arms of the fiery zombie with one shot, which weakened the fire attack a lot. But the fiery zombie slid and got behind a land tank. After hiding its body, the fireballs as big as a basin hit Zhang Ling. But Zhang Ling dodged them easily. It's a pity that the guy didn't show his head again, so Zhang Ling couldn't lock it. Humph, don't think you are the only one who can play with fire, Yu Na shouted angrily, and waved her hands, and immediately rubbed out several large fireballs and smashed them towards the group of zombies in front. Boom boom boom. A piece of open space was cleared in an instant. 8 extreme shock. Su Wei took the opportunity to jump out, and his iron fist smashed the ground with great force, causing the ground to crack, and the cracks spread out, shaking the entire earth. Large groups of zombies around were unstable and fell down one after another, including the land tank that was used as a shield. Bang! Zhang Ling instantly locked onto the fiery zombie and shot it in the head. The surrounding flames disappeared instantly. Su Wei took the opportunity to rush forward, crushed the fiery zombie's head with one foot, and took out a fiery red, translucent fire-type corpse crystal from it. Nana, take it. As he said that, Su Wei threw the fire-type corpse crystal over. Thank you, brother. Thank you, Sister Xiaoling. After Yu Na caught the corpse crystal, her face was about to bloom with a smile, and then she put the corpse crystal into her small bag at lightning speed. Roar! At this moment, The wall of a collapsed building was knocked open, revealing a large black hole, and a bloody and foul smell immediately floated out. This place is actually connected to the underground. It should be the entrance to the underground garage, but it was covered by the collapsed building. No wonder there was no trace of the alien. It turned out that he was hiding underground. "It's coming out, pay attention," Zhang Ling shouted, mainly to remind Su Wei, who was at the front line. Sizzle. Suddenly, a sharp high-frequency sound wave came from the hole, instantly sweeping the surrounding area dozens of meters away. Everyone instantly felt that their heads were hit by two hammers, buzzing. Su Wei was at the front, and was the first to bear the brunt, feeling that his whole brain was about to explode. Roar! Su Wei, who was in unbearable pain, couldn't help but roar, picked up a brick from the ground, and smashed it into the hole. Boom! As luck would have it, the brick hit the bearing point, and the broken building shook violently and was about to collapse. At this moment, the overclocked high-pitched sound stopped suddenly, and a red-eyed zombie rushed out of the hole. There were two alienated zombies beside him. The so-called mutant zombies are zombies with mutations in certain parts of their bodies. One of them had its hands transformed into sharp bone blades. The other had its mouth transformed into a long tube. "Brother, it's the red-eyed mutant in the industrial park." At this time, Yuna shouted in surprise. "Oh my! Enemies are bound to meet on a narrow road." Su Wei took a closer look and found that it was indeed the red-eyed mutant he encountered when he was looking for the super compressor. He didn't expect it to run so far and upgrade from the general level to the commander level. Hiss! The zombie with a mutant mouth spit out a long tongue, like a javelin, and stabbed at Su Wei. Hammer! Su Wei was not to be outdone and punched. Bang! The grip of death collided with a hard tongue, making a crisp sound, as if being whipped by a whip. Su Wei couldn't help but take a step back, and the long tongue rebounded quickly and hit the mutant zombie's own face, leaving a scarlet mark. Unfortunately, the zombies had no sense of pain. They just shook their dizzy heads and retracted their long tongues. Hiss! At this time, the zombie whose hands had transformed into sharp blades also rushed up, and his speed was even faster than that of a javelin. "Brother, I'll do it." Yuna rushed up in one step, her hands ablaze, and fought with a mutant zombie. Bang! Zhang Ling fired a quick shot and repelled another attack by the long tongue. Then she dropped the sniper rifle in her hand and rushed forward alone. Before she arrived, the ice cone arrived first, instantly piercing the long tongue into a hedgehog. The mutant zombie immediately spit out its long tongue to fight back, and a thick ice shield appeared in front of Zhang Ling. The long tongue only penetrated halfway and was frozen. As a result, the tongue could no longer be retracted. Zhang Ling condensed an ice sword in her hand and slashed it with her hand. In one encounter, the opponent's strongest weapon was destroyed. Oh my! So fierce! Su Wei couldn't help but feel a chill on his back. This was the first time he saw Zhang Ling in close combat, and it was so terrifying. Boom! As if sensing Zhang Ling's strength, Yuna here was not willing to be outdone, and directly transformed her body into an element, turning into a human-shaped flame. The alienated zombie, whose hands had transformed into sharp blades, immediately lost its advantage, because its strongest physical attack was ineffective against Yuna at this time. On the contrary, the flames that continued to rise from Yuna's body caused great damage to it, and its whole body was roasted and greasy. Fortunately, it had no sense of pain, otherwise it would not have roared, but wailed. "Oh my god, it's so hot!" Su Wei couldn't help but sweat on his forehead. This was the first time he saw Yuna's full-strength attack after the upgrade, and it was so fierce. Then, "You are the only one left." Su Wei cast his eyes on the red-eyed alien. Seeing that his two capable guards were both trapped, the red-eyed alien showed a trace of fear. Such an expression on a zombie is really too weird. Could it be that zombies can evolve into humanity? Squeak! Before Su Wei could think about it, the red-eyed alien emitted the same ultra-high-frequency sound waves from its mouth, and the air produced visible ripples. "Fuck you, you're coming." Su Wei quickly picked up another brick from the ground and smashed it at the red-eyed alien opposite. With a huge power, an ordinary brick tore through the air and flew towards the red-eyed alien with a whistle. The red-eyed alien had to stop the sonic attack and dodge. It can be seen that when using this move, the main body cannot move. With this discovery, Su Wei was no longer afraid of it. "Anyway, there were bricks everywhere, and I couldn't kill you, you thief." Chapter 186, a bit of a waste of clothes. Bang, bang, bang. Su Wei threw bricks with both hands, leaving Red Eye no time to launch sonic attacks. What's more terrible is that Su Wei has gradually closed the distance between them. Baji Zhen. Su Wei seized the opportunity and punched the ground not far from Red Eye. The cracks on the surface extended to the feet of Red Eye, and one of its feet was immediately stuck in the crack. Good opportunity, cannon hammer. Su Wei punched Red Eye directly on the head. Wow! Suddenly, the surrounding scenery changed instantly, and they came to a grassland with flowers blooming and birds singing. There was no decadence and haze of the wasteland at all, as if they had arrived in heaven all of a sudden. Su Wei was stunned, and the offensive stopped instantly, looking around curiously. Xiao Wei, boss, Su Wei, brother. At this time, several soft voices sounded, which immediately attracted Su Wei's attention, because these voices were too familiar. Following the sound, he saw several slender and soft figures walking from a distance. Xiao Wei, He Shuang, Li Xiaoman, Yu Na, Zhang Ling. Damn it! Su Wei was immediately stunned. Su Wei, what are you doing standing here like a fool? Xiao Wei came forward with a gentle face, and her white jade-like slender hands slowly stretched out to Su Wei's face. Her nails painted with red nail polish sparkled in the sun. Looking at the women who surrounded him at the same time, Su Wei didn't know what to say for a moment. No. Looking at everything in front of him, Su Wei was suddenly shocked and his back was full of cold sweat. In any case, they couldn't appear in the same time and space. So, this is an illusion. Su Wei immediately remembered that Yuna had said that the red-eyed alien would carry mental attacks, which would make people fall into the trap without knowing it. 8 Extreme collapse. Su Wei, who was still gentle in the previous second, became hideous in the next second, and his whole body burst into power. A punch full of anger and a scream went straight to Xiao Wei's chest in front of him. Puff. The fist penetrated the body directly and extended from the back, holding a beating hard in the palm. The women were all stunned. Wow! Everything around was reduced to ashes, and they returned to the ruins of the battle. The sound of fighting and gunfire came into their ears again. That Xiao Wei slowly turned into a red-eyed alien, and raised a claw. The sharp nail was only 1 centimeter away from Su Wei's neck artery. But at this moment, it could no longer move forward, and its pair of scarlet eyes were filled with endless surprise and unwillingness. It clearly detected the softness in Su Wei's heart, but why did he still attack without hesitation? And the first move was to kill. You will never understand, Puff. Su Wei whispered in its ear, and then crushed the red-eyed heart. The scarlet in the eyes of the red-eyed alien quickly faded, and finally turned into a pair of dead fish eyes, and died. Crash! Su Wei pulled his hand away, and the body of the red-eyed fell at his feet. As soon as he lifted his foot, he crushed it into pieces, revealing a crystal-clear bead as pure as water. Su Wei leaned over and picked up the bead without any dirt. It was hard to imagine that such a beautiful thing was bred by such a filthy zombie. The corpse crystal with spiritual power attribute, each one is unique in the world. Zhang Ling came over and looked at the corpse crystal in Su Wei's hand with a complicated expression. Just now, they were also affected by the red-eyed alien. If Su Wei hadn't killed the red-eyed in time, I don't know how many people would have suffered. It's beautiful. Yunai also came over, looking at the corpse crystal in Su Wei's hand with blurred eyes. Feeling warm around him, Su Wei turned his head and saw that Yuna was still in the flame state, and only her pretty face could still see some outlines. What's its use? Su Wei couldn't help but ask. Its biggest function is to enhance the spiritual power of the absorber so that it will no longer be subject to similar spiritual attacks, Zhang Ling explained. Hiss, Su Wei couldn't help but take a breath of cold air. Immune to mental attacks, that is definitely a trump card. Yes, with it, I can even be fearless of illusions and will never be bewitched by the 5 senses again, Yunai also spoke. Awesome, speaking of which, the battle is over, why are you still so excited? Su Wei suddenly looked at Yuna with curiosity. The red eye died, and its control power disappeared instantly. The remaining zombies could only fight on instinct and became chaotic. Under the orderly advancement of the crowd, they were gradually strangled. I didn't bring any clothes. Yuna, who was in the flame state, had 2 red clouds on her face. The elemental body is indeed powerful, but it is a bit expensive to wear clothes. Explode once, burn once. Slurp. Su Wei subconsciously sucked the saliva that flowed to his mouth. Bad brother, the red clouds on Yuna's face became more intense. Nana, come on, ignore this bad guy, Zhang Ling rolled her eyes at Su Wei, quickly took off her long windbreaker, waved to Yuna, and walked towards a shady corner. Lululu, Yuna stuck out her tongue at Su Wei, but it turned out to be a small flame. So cute. It's not like I haven't seen it before. Looking at the two people's backs as they walked away, Su Wei touched his nose and muttered to himself. The battle around them had ended, and the soldiers were cleaning up the battlefield. Lale. Lale. Su Wei put away the beads in his hand, and then shouted to Li Yanli, who was not far away. Boss, what's the matter? Li Yanli trotted over. Let's go and take a look inside. Su Wei pointed to the half-collapsed black hole and said. Yes, boss. Li Yanli immediately called several special forces members, turned on their lighting equipment, and followed Su Wei inside. I'll go. As soon as he entered, he was almost suffocated by the strong smell of blood. The huge underground garage was filled with corpses of various mutant beasts, and even a small number of human corpses. It could be called an underground slaughterhouse. The zombies outside were starving to death, but Red Eye had stored so much food underground. It seemed that zombies had inherited some of the bad habits of humans. Looking at the piles of mutant beast corpses, many little stars appeared in Su Wei's eyes. He ran forward excitedly. Unfortunately, the greater the hope, the greater the disappointment. There was a hole on each mutant beast's corpse, and the beast's soul in the body had long been taken away. Su Wei was so happy for nothing. No wonder Red Eye was able to advance so quickly. It turned out that he swallowed so many tonic things. No wonder the corpse crystal was so pure and beautiful. However, it was not completely without gain. The mutant beast could be said to be full of treasures. The skin could be made into armor, the bones could be made into alloys, and the claws could be made into weapons. There was also spinal fluid, which was the most valuable thing in the mutant beast besides the beast's soul. It could be used to prepare many useful potions, and strengthening potions were one of them. Li Yanli immediately sent someone to call for others to come down and collect the spoils. Su Wei couldn't stand the bloody atmosphere and left. Chapter 187 Where does the courage come from? Thanks to the excellent equipment and ammunition, this encirclement and suppression not only did not cause any casualties, but also had a huge harvest. The corpses of the mutant beasts alone were enough to offset the consumption. This undoubtedly gave everyone tremendous confidence and established Su Wei's lofty status in the base. Because all of this was brought by him. Of course, with a huge harvest, the price was naturally not small. More than half of the ammunition was directly consumed. Su Wei immediately sent someone back to the base to send a letter, asking them to organize another logistics supply team to deliver some supplies. It would be strange if he could conjure up the supplies of an army. Logistics supply is also a test, so it is better to keep the base running normally. A team of people will also be sent to transport a large number of mutant beast corpses and scattered supplies found here back to the base first. After everything was arranged, Zhang Ling and Yuna also came back. Yuna was wearing a leather windbreaker, revealing 2 smooth feet, which looked very special. Nana, here. Su Wei quickly took out a pair of small leather boots from his backpack. This was bought for Su Jiao before, but he forgot about it when he put it in the space. Now it's just right for you not to wear. It seems that in the future, I have to prepare a few more sets of clothes in the space. Well, there is also a changing room in the wild. Otherwise, just get a motorhome. Thank you, brother. Yuna happily reached out to take the shoes. Little did she know that at this moment, countless thoughts flashed through Su Wei's mind. What are you thanking me for? It seems that I have to prepare a few more sets of clothes for you, Su Wei said with a smile. Alice, speaking of this, Yuna looked depressed again. The elemental body is indeed powerful, but it is a bit difficult to end. Don't worry, I know there is a mutant beast called the red fire ghost spider. Their spider silk is not afraid of fire. It is used to make clothes, which is just suitable for you to wear, Zhang Ling comforted, although the tone was still a little cold, but it was already very good. Really? That's great, Sister Xiaoling. Do you know where the red fire demon spider is? Yuna was immediately happy when she heard it. If that was true, she would no longer be afraid of transformation. Well, I'll take you to find it after this mission is over, Zhang Ling nodded. Thank you, Sister Xiaoling, you're so kind, Yuna said, using her cute tricks, turning into a koala and hanging on Zhang Ling's body. Friction, rubbing, the devil steps. Zhang Ling's whole body froze, but she still resisted the confusion in her heart and did not push Yuna away. However, Yuna seemed to have forgotten that she was only wearing a coat, and the friction immediately revealed a pair of porcelain white long legs, and Zhang Ling, who was wearing a black tight leather jacket and leather pants, formed a powerful visual shockwave. Squeak. Su Wei on the side quickly sniffed his nose to prevent the warm liquid from flowing out. Ahem, Nana, you are exposed. Finally, Su Wei had to remind her out loud. Ah. You stinky brother, why didn't you say so earlier? Yu now was immediately ashamed and quickly jumped off Zhang Ling. At this time, Zhang Ling couldn't help but secretly let out a long sigh of relief. Bang! At this moment, several gunshots rang out, which seemed particularly abrupt. What's going on? Su Wei frowned and looked in the direction of the sound. The gunshots came from the northwest corner of the community. Let's go and take a look. With that, Su Wei, Zhang Ling and Yu now rushed to the direction where the gunshots came from. He didn't want anyone to capsize in the ditch. Wei Jun, is anyone injured? Halfway, Su Wei and the other two met Wei Jun, who was running back. Boss, no one is injured for the time being, Wei Jun quickly replied. He was originally looking for the boss. Is it a zombie attack? Su Wei asked again. No, boss, a group of scavengers had a conflict with our people, Wei Jun briefly introduced. Huh? Let's go and take a look. Su Wei couldn't help but be stunned. Someone actually dared to pull teeth from the tiger's mouth. As they talked, several people came to the scene of the incident. Judging from the environment, this should be the commercial area of the original community, which can be seen from the broken windows and billboards. At this time, two groups of people were standing in front of a supermarket. On one side were the army of the base wearing camouflage uniforms, led by a big bald head, Zhang Bao. On the other side were the scavengers in strange clothes, and there were quite a few of them, nearly 100 people. The leader was a tall and mighty strong man, with tendons all over his body, as if he was cast in steel and iron. Zhang Bao, what's going on? Several people came up and Su Wei asked Zhang Bao. Boss, we are responsible for cleaning up the zombies in this area, but when we finished cleaning and came back here, these grandsons said that they found this supermarket and it was their supplies, Zhang Bao said angrily. There were a few bruises on his face, and it was obvious that he was a little inferior to others. Who are you? After hearing this, Su Wei turned his head and looked at the scavengers opposite. This supermarket is located on the edge of the community. As soon as the war ended, these scavengers rushed in impatiently, but most of them were timid and only picked up some scraps that the army didn't want. My name is Jedazhuang. Are you the leader of Hudan? The leading strong man said in a rough voice. Boss, he is a famous scavenger in the neighborhood, that is, a strong man recognized by the scavengers, and has a certain ability to gather people, Wei Jun on the side immediately explained to Su Wei in a low voice. There are many scavengers in the wasteland, but they are relatively scattered. In order to resist the oppression of other forces, scavengers within a certain range will organize themselves and select a scavenger master to lead everyone to make a fortune. Yet, Su Wei nodded, not knowing whether to answer Jedazhuang or Wei Jun. Have you forgotten who took over this community? Su Wei asked with a straight face. Yes, you took down the community, but we cleaned this place up ourselves. We also contributed, so it's not too much to share a little bit of the stuff, right? Jedazhuang looked simple and honest, but in fact he had a lot of evil thoughts, and his big black eyes moved very quickly. What a joke, did I ask you to contribute? Su Wei was so angry that he laughed. Some people are born with the logic of robbers. If you say that, it's boring. It's not easy to survive in the wasteland, and humans should watch out for each other. What's more, we are self-reliant. Besides, you have such a big base. Would you still care about this? If this gets out, who will believe in the paradise you are promoting? Jedazhuang argued with Su Wei with reason and evidence. Are you done? Get out of here if you're done. Su Wei was too lazy to deal with such people. You humph, so many people are watching. Believe it or not, I will ask the scavengers to stop trading with your Phaeton base in the future. Jedazhuang's face changed when he was scolded by Su Wei. Chapter 188, Killing Without Mercy. Trade with whoever you want, why would I care about your stuff? Su Wei said with disdain. This guy thinks he is too important. Okay, just wait for me. Jedazhuang, we'll never give up, let's go. Go back and tell everyone that the Phaeton base is just a name, Jedazhuang said and was about to take his men away. He naturally didn't dare to confront the Phaeton base. He was just testing it, because the Phaeton base has always been very kind. And kindness is equivalent to weakness in the wasteland world. Wait, Su Wei suddenly called out to Jedazhuang, who was about to leave. What's up? Boss Su, have you changed your mind? Jed Azhuang turned around and looked at Su Wei, with a smug smile on his face. Yes, I changed my mind. How can I let go of someone who offended me so easily? Su Wei's smile became even stronger. What do you mean? Jed Azhuang's face changed drastically. He never thought that Su Wei would turn against him. This is different from the rumors? Didn't I meet Su Wei himself? It means literally, everyone present, leave one hand as a punishment, Su Wei said and waved his hand. The soldiers behind him immediately pointed their guns at Jed Azhuang and others. As time went by, more and more soldiers gathered here. I heard that someone dared to threaten Boss Su. This is too much? You are really a fool. You? The scavengers panicked when they heard this. They couldn't help but regret why they listened to Jed Azhuang's instigation and came here to take advantage of others. Boss Su, there are still people watching outside. Aren't you afraid of your reputation being ruined by doing this? Jed Azhuang roared with grief and anger, looking like he had suffered a great injustice. You don't have to bother with this, Su Wei shook his head indifferently. As more and more soldiers gathered, the pressure on the scavengers increased. Okay, if I cut off one of my hands today, will you let us go? Jed Azhuang gritted his teeth. This was really a case of losing more than gaining. Wait, did you misunderstand me again? The hands I was talking about were only those of the accomplices, and you, the main culprit, can't just have one hand? You have to keep your head, Su Wei said lightly. From the moment Jed Azhuang's eyes flashed with hatred, Su Wei had no intention of letting him go. Despicable villain, going back on his word, don't be fooled by him, he never intended to let us go. Fight them, Jed Azhuang immediately bewitched loudly. Kill, Su Wei didn't say much, just waved his hand. Bang bang bang. The large caliber, high-speed machine guns in the soldiers' hands immediately opened fire, and bullets rained down on the scavengers on the opposite side. How could these scavengers resist the firepower that even the general-level zombies couldn't withstand? Occasionally, there were a few with higher levels of enhancement, but they could only support for a few more seconds. However, Jed Azhuang was an exception. Not only did he activate his steel body ability immediately, but he also grabbed the scavenger next to him and used him as a shield, then quickly retreated. As long as he escaped, he would still have a chance. Bang! Unfortunately, Zhang Ling's sniper rifle would not let him go. The modified bullet, with its powerful kinetic energy, instantly penetrated Jed Azhuang's hard back of the head, then exploded in his brain, killing him instantly. Jed Azhuang's body ran forward a few steps before falling down, along with his men, all wiped out. The blood drifted far away in the air. This move scared the scavengers on the periphery and they ran away. Oh my god, it's terrible. Su Wei didn't care about the expired things in the supermarket. But he had to decide whether to take it or not, instead of being tested like Jed Azhuang. This Jed Azhuang also made a wrong calculation. He wanted to use Phaeton's kindness to establish a higher prestige, but ended up destroying himself. Life is so unpredictable, and the big intestines are wrapped in small intestines. After such an unpleasant incident, Su Wei assigned Wu Nan and her team to escort a convoy transporting supplies, just in case. It took half a day to collect all the supplies and load them into the truck to take away. Seeing that it was getting dark, Su Wei ordered to spend the night in the ruins of the community. There was still the residual power of the handsome alien species here, and nothing would come for the time being. Everyone spent a rare peaceful night. The next morning, the troops set out and rushed towards the set goal. The rest of the journey was safe and sound. With a reconnaissance team exploring the way ahead, many unnecessary troubles can be avoided. Occasionally, sporadic zombies or mutant beasts appeared, but they were quickly solved by the special forces and would not affect the progress of the large troops. Finally, in the morning of the next day, they arrived at the edge of the Jiquan high-tech development zone. The reason why it was so slow was mainly because a large distance close to the high-tech development zone was covered by jungle. This place is close to the danger zone, and few people set foot here, let alone the large troops. Therefore, Su Wei and his team had to forcibly open up a passable road to facilitate the subsequent transportation of materials and the transportation of the acquired equipment. As soon as they entered the high-tech development zone, Su Wei ordered to stop. They found the tallest building nearby as a temporary camp for the large force. The cleanup work went very smoothly, and there were almost no zombies. There was only a group of mutant rats entrenched here, which were quickly cleared. However, Su Wei asked to block all the rat holes to avoid accidents. Climbing to the top of this building, you can overlook half of the high-tech development zone, but it is dead silent. There was no direct nuclear attack here, so it is quite well preserved. Perhaps the nuclear explosion at that time deliberately avoided such areas for future restoration and reconstruction. Unfortunately, 10 years later, humans can only survive with difficulty, and there is no spare energy to restore and rebuild. These high-rise buildings that originally carried high-tech are becoming increasingly deserted. Now, many of them are covered by green vegetation. Others are covered by towering trees, which look extremely desolate and dilapidated. Boss, this is the map of the high-tech development zone, from the municipal archives, but it is no longer in its original state. Su Xiaodong turned on a projector, and a three-dimensional map appeared in the air. However, the prosperous scene with tall buildings and busy traffic on it is now completely invisible. It doesn't matter, as long as we have a general direction. Su Wei slid his hands to find the target this time. According to the clues provided by Ji Tongguang, there is a factory called Lingru in the high-tech development zone, which specializes in the production and manufacturing of high-precision machine tools. There are also two other electronic component manufacturing factories, Huahu and Beijing. The three factories are not far apart, but they are all in the hinterland of the high-tech zone, so the risk factor is very high. Chapter 189 Mental Strengthening. Dongzi, take your men to the Lingru factory from this side to investigate. Weijin, take your men to the Huahu factory from the other side. Soon, Su Wei found the place Ji Tongguang mentioned on the map. Sure enough, they were all in the center of the high-tech development zone. Yes, boss, the two answered in unison. After saying that, they copied the map marked by Su Wei, and then went downstairs to lead the men. Brother, what are we doing? Yu now had changed into a new training uniform, with her long hair tied up on top of her head and tied into a bun, looking particularly innocent. Wait for news. Su Wei sat down comfortably in a boss chair, looking up at the somewhat gloomy sky and said, "Oh," Yu now responded with a bit of boredom. She walked to Su Wei and sat down habitually. Zhang Ling wanted to look cooler, and unless Su Wei took the initiative, she would basically not be next to him. At this time, the A army was still cutting wood and building a camp downstairs. Snipers had hidden in various places in the building, staring at every corner in every direction, and the special forces were patrolling around to eliminate some potential dangers. Everything was so well organized that Su Wei was very pleased. This was his own troop. Although the number of people was not large, the style of enforcing orders was excellent. Thinking that there would be more troops like this in the future, he was a little excited. Nana, you can take this opportunity to absorb the fire corpse crystal, Su Wei lazily suggested. That's right, Yu now happily found an office and sat quietly to absorb the fire corpse crystal. What are you looking at? When only Su Wei and Zhang Ling were left on the rooftop. Su Wei quietly came forward, hugged her gently from behind, put his mouth to her crystal-clear earlobe, and whispered softly. At the same time, he smelled the fragrance that was like a faint orchid, which was particularly pleasant. Nothing to look at, Zhang Ling's body stiffened for a moment, then slowly softened, letting Su Wei hold her, feeling the rare peace. Xiaoling, this is for you, Su Wei said, taking out the crystal-clear round corpse crystal and giving it to Zhang Ling. The sun was shining at an angle, shining through the beads, emitting an extremely soft light. Are you serious? Zhang Ling was stunned for a moment. The corpse crystal with spiritual power attribute is the best of the best, and its value is immeasurable. Of course, you are all mine, so aren't all mine yours, Su Wei teased, making Zhang Ling blush instantly. Bah, I can leave you at any time, Zhang Ling couldn't help but said angrily. Okay, even so, I will still give it to you. Su Wei rested his chin on Zhang Ling's fragrant shoulder, greedily breathing in the fragrance, but his tone of voice was unquestionable. Aren't you afraid that Nana will be angry? Zhang Ling still had a cold face, but she was very moved in her heart, but she didn't know how to express her feelings, so she could only face it with the expression she was familiar with. No, Nana is not that stingy, besides, I will give her good things in the future. Su Wei shook his head and said in a dreamy voice. No, Zhang Ling suddenly shook her head. What's wrong? Su Wei raised his head and looked at the stubborn girl strangely. It suits you better. Zhang Ling turned around, mustered up her courage, looked at Su Wei boldly and said. But Su Wei was about to say something. But Zhang Ling took the initiative to hold his face and kissed him. The unfamiliar and clumsy skills made Su Wei excited and moved. When he was about to teach in depth, Zhang Ling dodged with a swish. I'll watch for you, absorb it quickly. Zhang Ling's face returned to its former ice. But the rapidly rising and falling chest betrayed her panic at the moment. Okay. Next time I'll give you and Nana one each, Su Wei said with a smile on his face. He knew that Zhang Ling was very thin-skinned, and it was not easy to achieve this step, but he didn't dare to tease her again. If he made a mistake, it would be bad. Don't worry, take your time, everything will be fine. After saying that, Su Wei went to find an office and began to sit in meditation to absorb. It took a day and a night for Su Wei to finally absorb the round corpse crystal. It was a very special energy. Unlike other corpse crystals, it directly acts on the body to make the body stronger. Instead, it directly strengthens the brain and makes the mental strength more tenacious. Therefore, Su Wei felt nothing except that his spirit was 100 times stronger. At least his level did not increase, and he was still at the level of level 2. When Su Wei came to the rooftop again, Yuna was already there. She and Zhang Ling, the two girls, were talking about something. Did Nana break through? Su Wei asked as he walked. She broke through, brother, now I am also a level 5 awakener. Yuna turned around hurriedly when she heard the voice, with a happy smile on her face. Well, our Nana is the best. Su Wei immediately gave her 2 thumbs up. No. Sister Xia Ling is the best. Yuna looked at Zhang Ling shyly and said. Zhang Ling also looked at Yuna, but did not respond, and the atmosphere became silent instantly. What were you talking about just now? Su Wei hurriedly saved the situation. We were talking about the places Sister Xia Ling had been to before and the mutant beast she had seen. Yuna didn't care and chattered. As long as Su Wei was there, she was a happy lark. That must be very interesting. Listening to it, Su Wei couldn't help but feel a little yearning for adventure. Yes, it would be great if we could go on an adventure together. Yuna also showed a yearning look. Okay, when the development of the base is over, we will arrange an adventure. Su Wei immediately made the decision. When the 2 women heard it, they were immediately delighted. By the way, have Dongzi and the others come back. Su Wei took a look and saw that the camp downstairs had been built, but some details were still being perfected. Most of the soldiers have resumed their daily training and are always in the best condition. This is something only Hudang can do. Others don't have any extra food to support the consumption of training, and they have to save it for wartime. Not yet. I guess there are too many obstacles along the way, so it will take a long time. Yuna shook her head. When she talked about business, she immediately became serious, and she still had some of the majesty of a minister. Well, wait for another day. If there is still no news, send people to search and rescue. Su Wei looked up into the distance. Wherever he looked, there were lush plants, which looked even more gloomy in the gloomy weather. Boss, there is a situation. At this time, Li Yanlai's voice came from Su Wei's bracelet. The Ministry of Science and Technology has restored short-range communication technology, but the distance is only between 200 and 300 meters, which needs to be improved. What's the situation? Su Wei asked hurriedly. Boss, why don't you come down and take a look? Li Yanlai's voice was strange. Okay, I'll be there right away. After that, Su Wei hung up the call. The 3 of them also set off and rushed downstairs. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 190 Moonlight White Tiger. When Su Wei and the other 2 came downstairs and found Li Yanlai outside the camp, they were stunned. They saw Xiaobei had brought a mutant beast cub from somewhere and was feeding it the snacks that Su Wei had given it. The cub had the same snow-white long hair, a chubby face, and a black crescent mark on its forehead. This is a moonlight white tiger. Zhang Ling was stunned as she looked at the cub. Moonlight white tiger, is it awesome? Su Wei looked at it with some disapproval. It seemed nothing special except that it was cute and adorable. Brother, an adult moonlight white tiger is an SSS level existence, and can even evolve into a terrifying existence of SSS+, Yuna quickly explained to Su Wei. Information can also earn food in the wasteland, so when the adventure team replenishes supplies in the settlement, they will bring some valuable information. And this information will be sorted out and recorded by a dedicated person, becoming the foundation for the development of the settlement. Is it so awesome? Su Wei's eyes suddenly had stars. Good things are not afraid of being small. Can't we raise them for 2 years? Hey, little friend, have you had breakfast? Come, 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 let Uncle hold you. Uncle will check your body. Su Wei walked towards the moonlight white tiger cub with a lewd smile. Don't go over there. Zhang Ling on the side hurriedly reached out and pulled Su Wei. What's wrong? Su Wei looked at Zhang Ling with a puzzled look. Xiaobei, I'm afraid you've got into trouble this time, Zhang Ling said with a serious face. Roar. Before she finished her words, a beast roar came from a distance. Ao the moonlight white tiger cub, who was eating happily here, immediately pricked up its little ears, then opened its cute mouth and roared twice, but it was a little childish. Roar. The beast roar immediately moved here. Oh my god, Xiaobei, did you steal this? Su Wei was speechless for a while, and then his back felt cold. According to you Na, an adult moonlight white tiger is SSS level, and they are not even enough to fill its teeth. What to do? Su Wei couldn't help but get anxious. He could teleport away, but what about the others? Later, no matter what happens, you take Yuna away first, understand? As the roar of the beast got closer and closer, Su Wei said to Zhang Ling with a serious face. No, you take Nana away first. Zhang Ling looked stubborn. Don't talk nonsense, Su Wei couldn't help but say with a tiger face. Zhang Ling was stunned and stared at Su Wei blankly. Be good and listen, I have my own way. It's hard for me to get away if you are here, Su Wei hurriedly explained softly. Really? Something was flowing in Zhang Ling's eyes. Really? Su Wei said. Promise. Zhang Ling held Su Wei's hand tighter. I promise. Su Wei nodded hurriedly. Okay, I promise you. Zhang Ling also nodded, but she had already made up her mind that she would come back to find him after sending Yuna to a safe place. Boom. It felt like the earth was shaking. With the sound of trees being pushed down, a white tiger that was a circle bigger than Xiaobei jumped out of the woods. 2 canine teeth-like swords were exposed, which looked very much like the legendary saber-toothed tiger. A strong pressure followed, and Su Wei and others couldn't help but clench their fists, but cold sweat had already appeared in their palms. Roar. The big white tiger saw its cubs. And there were a group of fully armed humans next to it. It was so anxious that it immediately roared loudly. It was like warning everyone not to hurt its children. How. Although Xiaobei was afraid of the momentum of the big white tiger, he still stood up bravely and roared. As a result, the little guy also roared twice, but was soon attracted by the food in front of him and turned his head to eat. Unexpectedly, the white tiger's momentum suddenly loosened half, and the look it gave Su Wei and the others was no longer as sharp as before. Ao. Xiaobei seemed to realize something, and hurriedly shook his head and tail at Su Wei, looking impatient. Although he didn't understand it very well, Su Wei still guessed something, and hurriedly asked Li Yanli to lead the others to put away their weapons and evacuate. He walked carefully to the big transport truck and pulled open the back door of the car. Crash! A large pile of frozen fish poured out of the car. Originally, there were not so many, but at the moment of opening the door, Su Wei took out some more from the space, and it looked like it fell out of the car. There was no way. Looking at the size of the white tiger, you can tell that it is more capable than Xiaobei. Goo 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 goo. Sure enough, seeing a car of frozen fish, the white tiger suddenly lost its composure, and a gurgling sound came out of its throat. However, its instinctive vigilance made it not completely believe the humans in front of it. But the sharpness in its eyes was a little less. If Su Wei still can't see this, then he is a fool. He quickly waved his hand to let Li Yanli lead the people to retreat far away, leaving only him and the 2 women, plus Xiaobei. At the same time, in order to express his sincerity, Su Wei also left the transport vehicle and stood aside with the 2 women. Woo, the little guy didn't care. After eating what Xiaobei gave him, he rushed directly to the pile of frozen fish. He ate several in a row, crunchy and fishy. The greedy white tiger also came over, pushed the cub aside with his nose, picked up one and swallowed it. The pure and unpolluted taste made the white tiger lose consciousness for a while, and then began to feast on it. Xiaobei was greedy and drooling on the side, but was afraid of the majesty of the white tiger and did not dare to come forward. Brother, Xiaobei is so pitiful. Yu now looked at Yuzin and felt sorry for Xiaobei. It's all this guy's fault. It's only right to use its rations to appease the other party's emotions, Su Wei said disapprovingly. Haha, if Xiaobei understood, He would have no tears to cry. Yuna couldn't help but be amused by Sue. Soon, the pile of frozen fish was eaten up. The white tiger also showed a satisfied expression on his face. God knows, a mutant beast, how can there be so much drama? Roar. After eating, the white tiger roared and left with a cub who looked reluctant. Just left, without even looking back, eating and wiping clean, and then patting his butt and leaving. Damn heartless. Sue couldn't help but complain in his heart. Xiaobai also had a lost expression on his face. Maybe he was single for too long, and when he saw a similar fellow, he wanted to find a playmate. Unfortunately, no one paid any attention to him, and he felt hurt. Okay, don't be sad, don't you still have us? Isn't it okay to give you a big meal at noon? Sue and the other two hurried forward to comfort him. Perhaps it was because he heard about the feast that Xiaobai felt a little better, and he followed the three people into the camp. Chapter 191 An Unexpected Attack. At noon, Sue specially grilled a big fish for Xiaobai, plus a whole pig, which made Xiaobai's mood better. It jumped around Sue's butt. But Sue was in no mood to pay attention to it now. The reconnaissance team had been out for almost 2 days, but no news came back, which made him feel a little heavy. Boss, it's here, it's back. Just when Sue was worried, Li Yanlei ran in. Dongzi and the others. Sue stood up after hearing the voice. No, the big guy in the morning is back again. Li Yanlei looked embarrassed. It felt like an ancestor had come to the camp, and he couldn't beat it or touch it. Let's go and take a look. Sue was stunned when he heard the words, but he quickly reacted and walked out with the two women and Xiaobai. Sure enough, as soon as they came out, they saw the majestic body of the white tiger blocking the gate of the camp. The soldier in charge of the guard had a pale face and was stared at by the SSS-level mutant beast. It was really terrifying. Xiaobai immediately ran over happily. The big white tiger raised one of its front legs and pushed Xiaobai aside. It didn't even look at Xiaobai, and was extremely arrogant. Then, it stood up and stepped aside, revealing a huge bull-shaped mutant beast with a pair of crescent-shaped horns on its head, more than 1 meter long. Oh my! S-level mutant beast, wild bull, pure power mutant beast. Sue's eyes were wide open. The big white tiger pushed the body of the wild bull directly in front of Sue. Is this for me? Sue was surprised. The only thing on the wild bull's body that was still bleeding was the hole in its throat, which showed that it had just been hunted not long ago, and the beast's soul must still be in it. Roar. The big white tiger roared again. Ayo 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 ayo. Suddenly, 3 white cubs rushed out from the woods not far away. When I got closer, I saw that in addition to the pure white one in the morning, there were 2 spotted cubs. One had a triangular black spot on its left shoulder, and the other had a round black spot on the right buttocks. 3 cubs, 6 eyes, stared at Sue, and while looking, they opened their mouths, stuck out their scarlet tongues, and drooled. What was going on? Sue was confused. Brother, are they hungry? Yuna guessed suspiciously. But, isn't there a fresh barbarian bull? Oh my. Does this guy want to exchange this barbarian bull for frozen fish? Sue suddenly realized. Oh my god, is this guy going to become a spirit? In order to confirm this idea, Sue hurriedly ran to move a few boxes of frozen fish and fell to the ground. Sure enough, the white tiger pushed the barbarian bull over again. Sue immediately stepped forward, activated a grip of death, and grabbed the beast's soul in the barbarian bull's body. It was as big as a fist, and it was actually an elite mutant beast, full of power. Then, Sue ordered the soldiers to carry the body of the barbarian bull down for disposal. This time the white tiger did not eat it, but let the 3 little guys eat it to their heart's content. After eating, he did not leave directly like last time, but let the 3 cubs play with Xiaobai for a long time before leaving. So Sue secretly ran to the transport truck to refill the frozen fish and frozen meat, hoping that the moonlight white tiger would continue to visit tomorrow. As the saying goes, a man who eats someone's food should be grateful. And a man who takes someone's food should be soft-handed. When they are used to eating the food brought by Sue, can't they take it directly back to the Phaeton base? In this way, the base has one more trump card. Oh, no, it's 4. Aren't the 3 little ones also potential stocks? Sue was very satisfied with the development of things to this point. That night, Sue absorbed the beast's soul of the wild bull with all his strength. When dawn came, the beast's soul in his palm turned directly into ashes. Sui also soared directly from level 2 to level 4, and his whole body was full of explosive power. Just as Sui expected, the sun had just risen, and the big white tiger came to eat with 3 cubs. But it didn't come with empty claws. The big white tiger was dragging an S-level fire giant lizard in front, and the 3 cubs followed behind, biting this and that. Sometimes it would drag in the opposite direction, but unfortunately it was no match for the big tiger and was dragged away together. It was quite fun. Without saying a word, they started to freeze the fish. This piece of fire beast soul was enough for you not to stabilize her rank 5 strength. In addition, Wu Nan rushed to the camp with additional ammunition. She met the supply team halfway, and after the 2 sides exchanged with each other, they rushed over without stopping. Everything was moving in the ideal direction. The only thing that worried him was that none of the scouts came back. In the afternoon, Su Xiaodong actually came back. It was just that he went out with more than 10 people, but only 2 or 3 came back. "Boss, I'm sorry, I failed in my duty." Su Xiaodong was injured in many places, and when he saw Sui, he said with shame on his face, "Don't panic, tell me first, what's the situation?" Sui took out a healing potion and handed it to Su Xiaodong. After the latter took it, he drank it in one gulp. "Boss, we encountered a group of troops of unknown origin," Su Xiaodong spoke with a bang. "What, army?" Everyone was shocked when they heard this. "In this dangerous area, is there a settlement of survivors? How powerful must they be to survive in this place where advanced mutant beasts and alien species are rampant?" "Do you know who they are?" Sui asked hurriedly. "I don't know, they are all wearing a complete set of power armor, and their faces cannot be seen, and they didn't say a word from beginning to end." Su Xiaodong shook his head and said, "Hiss." Everyone couldn't help but gasp again. A full set of power armor, how powerful must that settlement be? Sui even suspected that another time traveler had appeared. This story started 2 days ago. After Su Xiaodong led his men out of the camp, they searched along the route designated by Sui. At the beginning, it was quite smooth. Except for the lack of roads, there were no other difficulties. And this difficulty was perfectly solved with a drone exploration provided by Sui. In this way, after spending nearly a day, Su Xiaodong and others finally arrived near the Dingru factory, and even the tall wall could be seen with the naked eye. But at this moment, something strange happened. A team of dozens of soldiers wearing full sets of power armor attacked them. In the hail of bullets, several scouts were unfortunately killed, while the other side had a full set of power armor protection and was almost unharmed. Seeing that the situation was not good, Su Xiaodong immediately ordered a retreat, but the other side did not intend to let them go and chased them relentlessly. What was even more terrible was that another team of the same soldiers appeared on the way here, blocking their retreat. Su Xiaodong had to change direction and retreat, which led to a deviation from the route and took more time to get back here. Su Xiaodong said as he projected the captured image on the screen. Although it was shot in a panic, the other side could still be seen clearly, including the full set of power armor. The black body, more than 2 meters high, highlights the cold and murderous atmosphere. Chapter 192 Empty. The video has ended, but no one spoke for a long time. Looking at a black power armor frozen on the screen, everyone fell into deep thought. Without any paint or markings, it is naturally impossible to guess its origin. Its main weapon is a laser gun installed on the arm. This is the most powerful weapon of the military before the disaster. It is a small energy weapon. No wonder Su Xiaodong and his men are so embarrassed. "Boss, do you want to do it?" Li Yanli couldn't help asking. "Do it." Su Wei gritted his teeth and made a decision. "Since we are here, how can we go back empty-handed if we don't figure it out? Lale, take people to meet Wei Jun, then we will meet up with the army near Dingru," Su Wei arranged. "Yes, boss." Li Yanli immediately ran to call people. "Others are ready to go." "Yes, boss." The short meeting ended, and the temporary camp, which had been silent for 2 days, suddenly boiled. The big white tiger was lying in the open space in the camp to bask in the sun, squinting his eyes to watch the 3 cubs playing with Xiaobei. As a result, the alarm sounded. Xiaobei immediately stopped playing, left the 3 cubs behind and ran towards the army assembly. The big white tiger quickly stood up, threw the 3 cubs onto its back, and then ran after it. Seeing the big white tiger chasing after him with its cubs, Su Wei waved to it and led his men along the route that Su Xiaodong had explored. Roar! At this moment, The big white tiger suddenly rushed forward and blocked the way in front of Sui and others, as if to stop them. "Dabe, go back. We have something else to do, and we'll play with you when we come back," Sui said to the big white tiger with a serious tone. Yes, Dabe is the name Sui gave it. Roar. Dabe looked at Sui in confusion and growled, still showing no intention of moving aside. "Well, forget it, you can't understand anyway." Sui ordered people to bring 2 boxes of frozen fish and put them in front of Dabe, and then led his men away. Dabe looked at the backs of the people going away, then looked up in a certain direction in the distance, and did not move for a long time, as if he was lost in thought. Sui and his team directly opened a road in the jungle for the transport vehicle to pass. Strangely, they did not encounter zombies or mutant beasts along the way. Is there really a survivor camp? Otherwise, who would clear these dangers? After a night of hard work, they finally arrived at the place where Suzaidong and his team were attacked. The battlefield had been cleaned up, and the bodies and equipment were gone. If it were not for the scattered shells and bullet holes on the trees, it would be impossible to confirm that a fierce battle had ever taken place here. "Boss, the Dingru factory is in front," Suzaidong pointed to a high wall a few hundred meters away and said. "Well, go up and take a look." After Sui finished speaking, he climbed a tree more than 10 meters high, then took out a telescope and looked forward. There was no tree within a distance of 100 or 200 meters outside the factory wall, and only weeds covered the land. But this outer wall was 10 meters high, so even if you climbed so high, you could only see a few protruding building tops. "Dongzi, send a drone over to have a look." Sui looked for a long time but didn't find any clues, so he said to Suzaidong, who was standing beside him, "There is no sign of survivors living here?" "Yes, boss." Suzaidong immediately took out the drone from his backpack and flew it out. As the drone approached the factory, it could be seen that the factory was overgrown with weeds and had obviously been abandoned for a long time. Suddenly, the screen turned into snowflakes. Sui hurriedly looked up at the sky above the factory, and saw the drone emitting a wisp of green smoke and falling into the wall. The two looked at each other and were speechless. This place even has an air defense system? It's getting weirder and weirder. There is no one here, but there are soldiers wearing power armor guarding it. It is dilapidated and desolate, but there is an accurate air defense system. I wonder how many secrets are hidden in this factory? Bang bang bang. At this moment, a burst of gunfire came from below. Oh no, those soldiers have appeared. Suzaidong looked down and immediately found a familiar figure. Go down and help. Sui immediately activated a death grip and leaped down. Every time he descended a certain distance, he inserted his hand into the tree trunk to offset the force of falling. He repeated this process 2 or 3 times and landed on the ground. Bajizhen. Coincidentally, a soldier in power armor passed by under the tree. Sui immediately jumped and chopped him directly into the ground. Bang bang bang. The bullets of the Phaeton army hit the power armor, but could not cause any damage to it. As soon as the opponent raised his hand, a ray of light penetrated the body of the Phaeton soldier, which was extremely domineering. Fortunately, there were not many people on the other side, only a few dozen. "Special forces, move forward, and the others retreat," Sui shouted hurriedly. The large number of people made it easier for the opponent to shoot. Cannon hammer. Sui's hands did not stop. He smashed a big tree with one punch, and the overturned tree trunk immediately smashed 2 power armor soldiers. But the opponent soon stood up again and continued to rush over here. Sui kicked the tree trunk again, knocking down another power armor soldier and pressing him underneath. But the opponent quickly used his secondary weapon, the chainsaw sword, to saw off the giant tree and escape from it. Awesome! Sui was more and more happy as he watched. If he could get such a power armor, wouldn't a Phaeton take off directly? At this moment, Wu Nan rushed up with his special forces. The most dazzling ones were Zhangling and Yuna. One big and one small, one ice and one fire, one red and one white. They quickly suppressed the offensive of the power armor soldiers. Hey! Cannon hammer! Sui sprinted and crashed into the arms of a power armor soldier, and hit the opponent's chest heavily with his right fist. Bang! As expected, Sui's iron fist directly penetrated the power armor and came out from the back. But surprisingly, there was no blood splattering. The opponent didn't even fall down. He raised his hand and slashed at Sui with a chainsaw sword. Damn! What's going on? In a moment of distraction, The chainsaw sword had already reached his head. Sui only had time to raise his left palm and grab the opponent's chainsaw sword. Swoosh! The rapidly rotating saw teeth rubbed against the death grip, creating a string of sparks. Boom! At this moment, a nice spear flew over and pierced through the helmet of the power armor. With a crash, the helmet flew out, revealing a hole. And the power armor also lost power at this moment. Empty? Sui took a look in the hole and was immediately shocked. There was no body in the power armor at all, so who was controlling the armor? Could it be artificial intelligence? Sui's head was full of question marks. What's wrong? Are you not injured? Zhang Ling rushed over and asked Sui. No, it's just that there is no one in these armors. Sui shook his hand, and the power armor immediately fell to the ground. Looking through the hole in the chest, it was empty. Zhang Ling couldn't help showing a hint of surprise. Chapter 193 Explosion. Attack the head. Otherwise it will be ineffective, Sui shouted immediately. He almost fell into the trap of the opponent just now. With clear hints, the special forces quickly won an overwhelming victory. After the helmets of more than 20 power armors were broken, they lost their ability to move. Although they won, such a strange thing still made Sui order to retreat several kilometers and build a temporary camp there. Of course, the more than 20 power armors were brought back, including the one that was hammered into the ground by Sui at the beginning. It was broken because the helmet was severely deformed. Boss, there is a new discovery. Soon after returning to the camp, Wu Nan ran to find Sui. She was responsible for leading people to dismantle the power armor and find out how the other party controlled it. Let's go and have a look. Sui, who was looking at the aerial view of Dingru factory, stood up. Zhang Ling and others followed him. In a temporary tent, several soldiers were dismantling a power armor. There were many bullet holes on it, proving that the modified firearms could penetrate it. It was just because there was no driver inside, so there would be no harm if it was hit. It created the illusion that the firearms were useless, and almost made the soldiers collapse. Boss, these are pre-disaster military power armors, and they don't have fully automatic driving artificial intelligence. They don't support remote control either. Wu Nan pointed at the power armor that was being disassembled and said. Oh, then how can it move and fight? Sui and others were stunned when they heard this. Did they just see a ghost? Boss, look at this. We guess it is controlling the power armor. Wu Nan led everyone to a table on the side, where there was a disassembled helmet. On the top of the helmet, there was a large mass of scarlet things that looked like biological tissue. It was wriggling like a heart, and several nerve-like tentacles grew on it, connected to the circuit of the helmet. The ends of the tentacles had been perfectly integrated with the circuit and could not be distinguished from each other. What is this? Sui was stunned. Don't tell me it's a pile of brains. We don't know what it is either, never seen it before, and there is no record of it, but we have tested it, and it has some vital signs, and it responds to light, heat, pain and other stimuli, Wu Nan said solemnly. There was no way. After all, they were not professionals and could not study these things further. Oh my god. Strange things happen every year, but this year there are more. How come I am caught up with them all? Sui couldn't help thinking. Zhang Ling, have you seen this thing before? Sui looked at Zhang Ling with an inquiring look. The latter shook her head blankly. Not to mention seeing it, she has never even heard of it. Boss, what should we do now? Wu Nan asked. First send one of these things back to the base, and let Qin Lao and the others study it, Sui pondered. Giving up is impossible. Yes, boss. Wu Nan immediately called 2 soldiers, put a set of disassembled power armor into a large wooden box, and then sent it to the Phaeton base. However, before leaving the camp, something strange happened. The large wooden box containing the power armor suddenly vibrated violently, accompanied by a high-frequency buzzing sound. However, this sound does not cause any harm to the human body. At most it is a bit harsh. But it also scared the 2 soldiers in charge of the transportation, and they quickly kicked the wooden box off the car. As a result, after a puff, the wooden box returned to normal and lay quietly on the ground. What's going on? Sui and others who heard the unusual noise quickly gathered around. Report, boss, it suddenly moved on its own, but now it's silent again, a soldier hurriedly reported. Open it, be careful. Sui glanced at the wooden box on the ground and said to the soldier. Yes, boss. The 2 soldiers immediately stepped forward carefully and opened the wooden box. Fortunately, nothing suddenly jumped out. Everyone looked into the box and found that it was the tissue in the helmet that exploded for some unknown reason, and the scarlet liquid splashed everywhere, staining the entire wooden box red. Oh my god. It's really a ghost. Wu Nan, ask someone to get another helmet. Su Wei looked at the location of the tent, then looked in the direction of the Dingru factory, and then said to Wu Nan, who was standing aside. Yes, boss. Wu Nan immediately ran to the tent himself and took out a helmet. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. When it was close to Su Wei and others, the tissue in the helmet began to tremble violently, accompanied by a sharp buzzing sound. Then, it exploded with a puff. Fortunately, Wu Nan dodged quickly, and Su Wei used the force field shield to block her, so she avoided the slurry without danger, otherwise she would have been soaked. Damn! Is it so magical? Everyone was stunned by the result. After trying a few more times, they finally found the law. As long as they did not exceed that distance, the tissue would be intact, but once they crossed that line, they would explode immediately. But if they could retreat in time, the tissue would calm down again. It was quite magical. How far is this place from the factory? Su Wei looked at the direction of the factory thoughtfully. About 5 or 6 kilometers, Wu Nan answered immediately. This should be the limit distance of their dominance and control, Su Wei guessed. Well, as long as we stay at this distance, we can have an advantage, Wu Nan nodded in agreement. I wonder if their masters can move, Yu Na asked. We'll know if they can move after we try, Su Wei answered easily, but the look in his eyes gradually became fierce. Although he didn't know where this thing came from, it was fairly evil. Su Wei immediately ordered the camp to retreat 2 kilometers, and then sent people to place the power armor at the critical position, and test the reaction of the tissues every once in a while. If the range expanded, they should be alert to the enemy. Surprisingly, there was no talk overnight. The next morning, Su Wei asked the soldiers guarding the tissues, and the critical position did not change. This made Su Wei less worried. He immediately ordered Wu Nan to gather the team and go to Dingru factory to find out. Passing through the dark jungle and crossing the messy battlefield yesterday, they soon arrived at the forest boundary, with nearly 200 meters of open space in front of them. Dongzi, Su Wei waved to his son-in-law Xiaodong. The latter immediately activated his superpowers, and his body suddenly became transparent, leaving only a very vague outline. It can be seen that this guy's superpowers have improved a lot. Su Xiaodong groped his way quietly towards the high wall of Dingru factory. There was a dead silence all around, as if something would jump out at any time. Fortunately, there was no danger along the way, and Su Xiaodong arrived safely under the high wall. Chapter 194 Mystery. Su Xiaodong took out 2 sharp alloy daggers, gently inserted them into the wall, and climbed up slowly with a support. The whole process was silent, and at this time his figure was almost integrated with the wall. Even if you stand close, it is difficult to distinguish with the naked eye. In about half a quarter of an hour, Su Xiaodong climbed to the top of the high wall. Cautiously sticking his head out to look inside, he still remembered the drone being shot down yesterday. If someone shot him, it would be an unjust death. The desolate and dilapidated scene was obviously a sign of no activity for a long time. What shot down the drone yesterday? After confirming that the surroundings were safe, Su Xiaodong put down the climbing rope. Seeing this, Su Wei immediately led people to rush over. As more and more special forces climbed up the high wall, the more climbing ropes were put down, and the faster everyone climbed. Su Wei climbed up and realized that the wall was not only high, but also thick. The top was more than 2 meters wide, and it was no problem to run on it. Now, the whole picture of the factory came into view. Oh my! First impression, wow, it's so big. So big that even the opposite wall can only be vaguely seen. Second impression, wow, it's dilapidated. What has happened here? World War? Unlike the ravages of a nuclear explosion, there is no bomb crater, but the buildings are collapsed piece by piece, as if they were crushed by something. Except for an office building and a semi-dormitory building on the side that are still standing strong, the rest are broken walls and covered with weeds and vines. When I saw these in the drone camera before, I thought they were low houses, but I didn't expect that they were all collapsed workshops and warehouses. Seeing this, Su Wei's heart sank instantly. How can the eggs under the overturned nest remain intact? This trip can't be in vain. Squeak. Take cover, boom. I saw a laser shot over and hit the top of the high wall, and a big hole suddenly appeared. Fortunately, the accuracy was not high, and no damage was caused except that a special forces member was almost shaken off. This time, Su Wei saw it clearly. The attack came from a broken wall. He immediately knelt on one knee, raised the modified sniper rifle, and put the target into the scope. He saw it was half a power armor, with a broken upper body, hanging on the broken wall, and the surface was covered with thick moss and weeds. If it hadn't moved by itself, no one would have noticed it. Bang! Without any hesitation, Su Wei's finger pulled the trigger. The special alloy bullet penetrated the top of the helmet of the power armor, instantly killing it. Danger is over. Su Wei held the sniper rifle and scanned the area again. After confirming that there was no danger, he shouted. Down. Wu Nan immediately organized the team members to land from the top of the wall to the factory floor. Xiaoling, you come to hold the line. When Zhang Ling was about to descend, she was pulled by Su Wei. Yes, Zhang Ling nodded, took the modified sniper rifle from Su Wei, and ran to the commanding heights. Nana, let's go, Su Wei said, hugged Yuna's slender waist, and jumped off the high wall. During the descent, the same trick was used again. The palm with the death grip inserted into the wall could immediately offset the force of falling. Soon, the two landed on the ground. Yuna's face was flushed with excitement. Like a ripe apple. Boss, at this time, Wu Na shouted on the side. Su Wei and Yuna hurried over. Looking at everything in front of him, Su Wei couldn't help but be stunned. Under the cover of weeds, a large area was covered with broken power armors. It was estimated that there were at least thousands of them. Su Wei squatted down and picked out a piece of debris with his hand. It was already covered with moss and the wound was covered with rust. It was obviously a few years old. Isn't this a machine tool factory? Why are there so many power armors? Questions emerged in everyone's mind. Let's go. Throwing away the debris in his hand, Su Wei took the lead and walked towards the office building. Now, he hopes to find out what happened here? Bang! But before they could get close to the office building, Zhang Ling, who was at the commanding height, fired a shot into the ruins in front of them, with a clear warning. Prepare for battle. Su Wei and the others immediately entered combat mode. Soon, the same type of black power armor emerged from the surrounding ruins, twice as many as yesterday. However, now that everyone knows their weaknesses, it's too easy to fight them. Either a headshot or the helmet is screwed off, and a power armor will be finished. With the support of Zhang Ling, a master with a special talent for sniping, these power armors were dizzy. Woo! Suddenly, a piercing alarm sounded in the factory, tearing through the air and piercing the sky. Boom! With the alarm, the ground of the entire factory was shaking the broken walls and walls one after another, raising dust all over the sky. Oh my god, there won't be a self-destruct device here. Su Wei and the others retreated quickly. I saw a piece of open space in front of the office building, as big as a football field, cracking from the middle, slowly revealing a huge hole, and a huge thing was rising from below. When they saw what was coming up, Su Wei and the others dropped their jaws. Damn! A mecha, a black and red humanoid mecha was kneeling on one knee on the lifting platform. Even so, it was more than 10 meters high, casting a large shadow in the sun. Buzz! The eyes in a line on the mecha's head lit up red, and then the body slowly stood up. Wow! It was half a head taller than the 20-story office building next to it. Su Wei's brain suddenly became 3 times bigger. Who can explain where this place is? Boom! The humanoid mecha walked over directly with a step that didn't recognize any relatives. Yes, just walking. But 1 foot down, it was almost dozens of meters, and it stepped in front of everyone in 2 steps. The huge foot stepped on everyone. Scatter! Su Wei shouted loudly, and ran desperately with Yuna. Fortunately, everyone had undergone advanced enhancement and their speed was much faster than ordinary people, otherwise they would be stepped into a pile of shit. Boom! The giant foot fell, and the ground was shaking. Su Wei now knew why this place was so dilapidated. It was because of this guy. Bang! Zhang Ling, who was standing on the commanding heights, fired a shot at the humanoid mecha, hitting it in the head. But this guy's armor was ridiculously thick, even a modified sniper couldn't penetrate its armor. Crash! The humanoid mecha turned around and slapped it, and the tall city wall suddenly collapsed like paper. Fortunately, Zhang Ling reacted quickly and jumped away in advance. After being caught by Xiao Bei, he continued to run wildly, thus avoiding the consequence of being buried alive. Fuck, blast it for me! Seeing Zhang Ling forced to jump over the wall, Su Wei was furious. He didn't care about anything else. He took out a lot of shoulder-fired rocket launchers from the space and distributed them to the special forces, one for each person. God knows where he got so many rockets. But at this moment, there was no time to worry. Everyone raised their rocket launchers and aimed at the humanoid mecha. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. More than a dozen rockets, with long flame tails, were fired at the humanoid mecha. Boom. The humanoid mecha spread out two shields on its arms and smashed the rockets directly like swatting a fly. Chapter 195 by Yu Guang. Boom. A rocket luckily escaped the interception of the mecha shield and hit the knee of the mecha. The violent explosion made it step back. Come again, Su Wei saw hope and continued to order people to fire rockets. As long as we can deal with this guy, it will be worth it even if we use up all the stocks. Whoosh. Another round of attack began. This time everyone learned their lesson and scattered from multiple angles. The humanoid mecha jumped up directly and leaped over everyone's head. Dodge. Everyone dodged in all directions. At this time, those power armors also came up. The special forces were immediately in danger, and several special forces were killed by laser guns. The physique of the enhancer is more resistant to kinetic weapons, but its resistance to energy weapons is the same as that of ordinary people. Nana, use your ultimate move. Su Wei was so angry that his eyes were about to burst, and he shouted at Yuna. Boom. Yuna instantly turned into a ball of flames, and then rushed up and ran straight to the face of the humanoid mecha. The mecha quickly stretched out a big hand, trying to grab Yuna. But the elemental body has no entity, and the huge iron palm directly penetrated the flames and grabbed nothing. Buzz! But just when Yuna was about to succeed, a light blue energy shield blocked the mecha, knocking Yuna flying backwards. After a while, it stopped in midair. Force field shield. Su Wei felt cold in his heart. At the last moment, the humanoid mecha used its other arm to open the force field shield, isolating Yuna, the elemental body, from the outside. This is the same type as the one Su Wei used, but this one is larger, and it is incomparable in thickness and width. 8 Extreme Collapse. Su Wei used all his strength and rushed up like a meteor. The humanoid mecha wanted to slap the hand that had grabbed Yuna before. But at this moment, a large ball of ice appeared and instantly froze the hand to the ground. Zhang Ling rose Iobe and rushed over. Unfortunately, the good times did not last long, and the huge iron hand easily broke free from the shackles of the ice. However, the 1 or 2 seconds were enough for Su Wei to jump over the opponent's interception and punch the humanoid mecha in the abdomen. Bang! It was like a comet hitting the earth, making a shocking sound. Su Wei was like a meteor, flying backwards and falling into the ground, smashing a deep pit. The humanoid mecha retreated 2 steps and sat on the office building, instantly crushing more than half of it. This time, the special forces were stunned. The boss is mighty, the boss is mighty. He actually shook a 70-meter-high steel mecha with his physical strength. You should be the humanoid mecha, right? Brother, Su Wei, Yuna and Zhang Ling quickly came to the point where Su Wei fell, shouting nervously. I'm fine. Ahem tui tui. Su Wei struggled out of the pit, spitting out a mouthful of sand. This fall. Not very harmful, but extremely insulting. Wow. Buzz. The mecha on the opposite side, except for a small dent on the metal armor on the abdomen, had no damage. It supported itself with one hand and jumped up. A red eyeliner locked onto the group of Su Wei, Zhang Ling, and Yuna. The 3 people's avatars were marked in red, which was both a threat and a priority to kill. So, the mecha walked up again with a heartless pace. Let's go together. Su Wei dusted off his body and rushed up. The more powerful the mecha was, the more excited Su Wei was. Yuna and Zhang Ling, one on the left and one on the right, rushed up again with Su Wei. For a while, ice and fire flew all over the sky. Su Wei's small fists, I don't know how many times they hit. There were countless dents on the mecha. Unfortunately, such damage was like tickling to the huge body of the mecha. I wanted to attack the head, but the mecha was very smart and never gave the 3 people a chance to get close. However, it was difficult for the mecha to eliminate the 3 people. Not only was the target small, but the speed was also very fast. It was difficult to lock on, let alone other things. The battle situation was deadlocked. As for the special forces, the situation has improved. Without the threat of the mecha, they regained the initiative and knocked down the power armor one by one. Then they came to support immediately, with large caliber guns, rockets, and even high explosive grenades. They were fired at the mecha without any cost. The scene was very spectacular. Unfortunately, everything was in vain, and no substantial damage was caused to the mecha. Fuck. It's really a pervert. Su Wei stopped panting. Including him, there were 3 level 5 strong men, plus a group of special forces, but they were helpless, which shows how powerful this mecha is. This is when the opponent did not use energy weapons. Suddenly, Su Wei's face changed drastically. What he said came true. After a long battle, the mecha seemed to lose patience. Its right arm split and instantly formed a huge barrel. White energy like pulp accumulated in the barrel. Fuck, get out of here. Su Wei pulled the 2 women and ran. The 3 of them were the closest, so they would naturally bear the brunt. Others also fled, but how far could they run in front of the giant energy weapon? Boom. A dazzling white light shot out, with overwhelming power, and wherever it passed, the soil and rocks were vaporized. Roar. Just as Su Wei was about to throw the 2 women out, a familiar tiger roar came. Then, with a bang, a gap was knocked out of the tall wall, and a giant white tiger rushed in. Dabe! Su Wei was stunned. Although it had grown a circle, he still recognized it. Roar. Dabe opened his mouth without saying a word, and a white light ball was quickly completed in his mouth, and then turned into a white light to meet the mecha's laser cannon. Boom. In a flash, the 2 lights collided and entangled with each other. Dabe, come on. Seeing that Dabe actually caught the mecha's attack, Su Wei and others immediately jumped up with joy. But the good times didn't last long. Dabe's energy was obviously not as strong as the mecha's. The energy of the laser cannon gradually pressed towards Dabe. If it couldn't resist, it would be destroyed. Roar. Dabe roared and pushed the energy back, but was soon pressed by the mecha again. Brother, what should we do? We have to help Dabe. You now looked anxious, but no one could intervene in such a fight. Let me think. Su Wei's mind was racing, but he didn't know what to do. Zilla. At this moment, a series of blue electric sparks flashed on the mecha's laser cannon, and then the energy decreased sharply and finally disappeared. The cannon also returned to the shape of an arm under the heavy burden. No energy. Su Wei looked surprised. Dabe, kill it while it's sick. Su Wei immediately shouted at Dabe. Roar. Dabe was not big either. He roared loudly. And white light burst out, instantly crossing the distance, blasting into the mecha's head, and then blasting a big hole from the back of his head. Beautiful. Now, Su Wei knew why he was called Moonlight White Tiger. Chapter 196 Black Phoenix. Watching Dabe destroy the mecha. Su Wei was so excited, but the next second he felt so distressed. Such a big hole, I wonder if it can be repaired. Cap. Boom. The huge mecha finally fell down, shaking the earth. Everyone couldn't help but burst into thunderous cheers, straight into the sky. Roar. Dabe roared hoarsely, fell to the ground, and his body shrank back to its original size in an instant. Ayo! 3 cubs ran in from the gap and roared around their mother. Su Wei and the 2 girls hurried forward to check. Fortunately, it was just overdrawn, not too much damage, and it would recover after a rest. After leaving the 2 girls to take care of Dabe and its cubs, Su Wei took Wu Nan and others and went underground from the place where the mecha rose. Looking at the huge underground base in front of him, Su Wei was shocked and speechless. Strangely, they did not encounter any resistance. In other words, there was no living person in the entire underground base. Soon, they found the central control room, where someone found a staff member's suicide note. The mystery that troubled them was finally solved. It turned out that the Dingru factory was just a cover. It was actually a secret military base that specialized in the research and production of power armor. Before the disaster, they received the task from their superiors to develop mechas, so they worked hard. Just when they achieved phased results, the disaster broke out. The virus infected the employees of the Dingru factory and then spread to the underground base. The base failed to control it in time, resulting in corpses everywhere. Only a small number of staff survived, but they were also trapped in the abyss of nearly 100 meters underground. I don't know how long it took, but the surviving staff discovered the anomaly. The power armor would actually start by itself and encircle and clean up the zombies in the base. This discovery made the surviving staff excited, thinking that rescue had come. But when they opened the door to welcome the power armor soldiers, they found that they were greeted by their butcher knives. The few survivors were almost slaughtered. Only 2 researchers hid in the ventilation ducts and survived. Afterwards, They found that the power armor soldiers dragged away all the dead bodies, whether zombies or survivors, leaving no one behind. Out of curiosity and to find a chance to escape, the two researchers followed the group of power armor soldiers quietly with their familiarity with the ventilation ducts. They followed all the way to the mecha room. The bodies dragged were thrown into the cockpit of the latest mecha, the Black Phoenix. The two climbed to the ventilation vents just above and took a look, and were so scared that they almost fell down. The cockpit was occupied by a huge, scarlet tissue, with countless nerve-like tentacles extending from it, connected to the circuit of the mecha. One by one, the corpses fell on the scarlet tissue, and they would be wrapped in it and digested and absorbed. Not long after, a fist-sized tissue split from the tissue, and then was put into the new power armor by the power armor soldier. In this way, a puppet soldier was born. The two researchers realized that this was a product of a mutation in the catastrophe, not belonging to humans, nor to the zombie group. Its purpose is to devour. Unfortunately, the two researchers were eventually discovered and hunted by the puppet soldiers. One of them was killed. The other was seriously injured but escaped. However, he collapsed after escaping into the central control room. Before he died, he left a video with his bracelet, hoping that someone would see it later. God will not let down those who work hard. His efforts finally made Su-Wei understand the cause of the incident, and he also learned that the name of the mecha was Black Phoenix. Cool. What's even cooler is that there are not only a large number of high-precision machine tools here, but also a complete set of power armor production lines. Even the data and parameters are complete. But what excited Su-Wei the most was that a large amount of data was found in the mecha room, all about mecha design, manufacturing, and upgrading. This undoubtedly gave Phaeton the ability to manufacture mechas directly. This is very nice. It's a big step closer to takeoff. At this time, the large army had arrived and launched a comprehensive search of the underground base. When Su-Wei saw that there were still hundreds of power armors in the warehouse, his back felt cold. The strange thing is, why didn't the master summon these puppet soldiers? The answer was soon revealed. There was no energy. After more than 10 years of consumption, the base's reserve energy was almost exhausted, so where was the energy to provide these power armors? The last bit of energy was used to start the Black Phoenix. This explains why it suddenly went offline when fighting with Dabe. This person, if he is lucky, he is invincible, and that mecha is like a free pickup. After leaving Wu Nan and others to continue searching the base, Su-Wei returned to the ground alone. As he went deeper, the situation gradually became clear. However, he really didn't understand one thing, that is, why Dabe hated the Black Phoenix so much. When Su-Wei found Dabe, it had recovered its ability to move and was wandering around the factory with its cubs. This one smelled it, that one smelled it, as if it was looking for something. Zhang Ling, Yu Na, and Xiaobei all followed with a confused look on their faces. What happened to Dabe? Su-Wei chased up and asked in a low voice. I don't know, Dabe just recovered a little, and that's it, Yu Na shook her head and replied. AWW. Suddenly, Dabe became a little excited and ran forward. He didn't even care about the three cubs. Su-Wei and the other two quickly picked up one each and chased after him. Dabe stopped at the edge of a ruin and stared into the ruins. Tears actually flowed from his two big eyes. Su-Wei and the other two hurriedly looked inside. They couldn't help but gasp. The deep pit of the ruins was filled with pale bones, including human, zombie, and beast bones, so dense that they couldn't be counted. But the most of them were beast skulls with two sword-like canine teeth. Could they all be moonlight white tigers? One of them was particularly huge, even bigger than Dabe's head. Dabe slowly walked forward and rubbed his face against a huge moonlight white tiger skull. AWW. Then, Dabe growled at the three cubs. The three cubs immediately broke free from Su-Wei and the other two, ran over, and looked at their mother's strange behavior curiously. The pure white cub couldn't help but lick the skull with its tongue, and found that it only smelled of dirt, so it immediately shook its head to shake off the dirt on its tongue. The cub with a round black spot on its butt fiercely showed its milk teeth and wanted to bite forward, but even with its tender and young mouth opened as wide as possible, it felt it had no way to bite, so it had to return in disappointment. Only the cub with a triangular black spot on its shoulder squatted quietly beside its mother, as if it had sensed something. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 197. Rest in peace. Brother. Did the mecha kill them? Yuna looked at such a sad scene, and her eyes were suddenly blurred with tears. She hated the mecha even more. Zhangling had a blank expression, but there was a trace of moisture in her eyes. Maybe, Su Wei replied melancholy. Although we don't know what happened exactly, we can guess it roughly by combining the cause and effect. After the mutant master controlled the entire underground base, it began to expand to the ground. This is the home of the Moonlight White Tiger tribe, and they were naturally very angry about the invasion of the puppet soldiers. From Dabei's combat power, we can know that the Moonlight White Tiger is not easy to mess with. The puppet soldiers suffered heavy casualties. This also explains why there are so many power armor fragments in the factory area. Finally, the master controlled the Black Phoenix and led the puppet soldiers to massacre the Moonlight White Tiger. The leader of the tribe, who should be Dabei's spouse, fought a desperate battle with the Black Phoenix here, but unfortunately died in the end. In order to protect the cub in her belly, Dabei had to flee from here. After several years of gestation, 3 cubs were born. You know, the stronger the mutant beast, the harder it is to give birth, but the cubs can have strong strength when they are born. Dabei always wants to take revenge, but the Black Phoenix is so powerful that it can only wander around. Little did he know that the Black Phoenix has been weakening due to insufficient energy supply. This time, if Su Wei and his team hadn't accidentally rushed in, perhaps the final result of the Overlord would have been starving to death in that steel body. Let's go, let them say goodbye properly. Yeah, seeing Dabei lying there, unwilling to leave for a long time, Su Wei took the 2 women and left first. The enemy was eliminated, but everyone's busy work had just begun. They needed to dismantle and pack the equipment in the underground base and transport it to the Phaeton base. Because of the large number and preciousness, strong protection must be provided along the way. This limits the number of transports that cannot be too large at one time. People, equipment, vehicles, etc. must also be dispatched from the Phaeton base. In short, there is a lot of work to do. However, Su Wei did not intend to abandon this underground base. He planned to transport some hydrogen metal from Phaeton to restart the fusion furnace and restore the base to normal. At the same time, he named it Phoenix Nest Base as a reserve base for Black Phoenix. At the same time, Wei Jun arrived. They encountered a handsome alien species. Fortunately, there were not many zombies under its command, and they were only trapped temporarily. Li Yanli led his men to rush over, and with the help of internal and external forces, they killed the handsome alien species and won the final victory. Wei Jun also brought good news. Both Huahu and Beijing factories were well preserved, and no survivors had visited them. After killing the alien species, Li Yanli asked Wei Jun to come and deliver a letter to Su Wei, and they guarded the electronic components. Hearing this, Su Wei was very happy. Power armor, it's done. Roar. At this time, Dabei's roar was heard. Su Wei and others hurried over, only to see that the ruins had been razed to the ground, and the Zure bones were buried directly underneath. This is good. No one will disturb the peace of the Dabei people anymore. As for the future arrangement of Dabei, it is natural to follow Su Wei, including the 3 little guys. Anyway, he can't be defeated. At this point, the troops have to be divided into 3 groups. Yuna stayed at the Fengchao base. Zhang Ling led people to Huahu and Beijing factories for reinforcement. Su Wei returned to the Phaeton base with the first batch of equipment and the power armor in stock. As for the Black Phoenix mecha, due to its large size, it was moved back to the underground mecha room for storage, and it could only be moved after finding a suitable transport vehicle. 3 days later, Su Wei returned to the Phaeton with the first batch of equipment. After handing over the information copied from the Fengchao base to Ji Tongguang, Su Wei returned to the modern world without stopping. I have been away from home for many days, I have to go back and take a look. As soon as I returned to the cabin, Su Wei's mobile phone suddenly rang. The message prompts dominated the screen. Su Wei took a cold shower first, changed his clothes, and lay on the sofa to read the messages one by one. It took more than an hour to finish reading the messages. Fortunately, most of them were greetings of concern, and there were not many problems, so Su Wei replied one by one. Xia Wei, He Shuang, and Li Zia Omen all left messages to meet and talk after they came back. It was probably work matters that needed to be discussed. Su Wei looked at the time and saw that it was still early, so he drove back to Yunshujian to report to his family that he was safe. It was just in time for his mother's breakfast, so the family sat together and had a warm meal. After breakfast, Su Wei drove to Ziwei Industrial Park. He found Xia Wei in the president's office. To his surprise, Li Xiaoman was also there, and the two seemed to be chatting happily. "Sister Wei, Xiaoman, what are you talking about? You look so happy." Su Wei walked in with a smile. Anyway, we're not talking about you." Xia Wei saw Su Wei's eyes light up, and she wanted to get up, but sat back down. "That's right, you playboy, you go out for more than 10 days and don't care about anything, Li Xiaoman rolled her eyes at Su Wei. Xia Wei didn't move, so she didn't move either. "Haha, I have something to do now. You two beauties have worked hard. If you want any reward, just ask." Su Wei took 2 steps forward, and with 2 kisses, he kissed the 2 girls on the face. The speed was so fast that it was impossible to cover one's ears. "Ah! You stinky brother, ah! You bad guy." The 2 girls were stunned for a long time before they reacted. They immediately let out 2 suppressed screams, and 2 red clouds rose to their cheeks in an instant, looking extremely shy. Su Wei just looked at them happily, making the 2 girls even more embarrassed. Okay. Let's talk about business first." Finally, Xia Wei interrupted. "Oh, do you have anything else to talk about?" Su Wei looked at Xia Wei and smiled evilly. Finally, he got the chance. "Bah! You stinky brother, you are getting worse and worse." Xia Wei's face was immediately red. If there were no one else, she would definitely enjoy it. But now Li Xiaoman is still sitting aside, and she is not open to such an extent. "That's right, he's a big bad guy, Sister Wei, let's go and ignore him." Li Xiaoman stood up and said. "That's right. It's not like the planet will stop spinning without him." Xia Wei also stood up and said. "Hey, okay, 2 beauties, please have pity on me and discuss something," Su Wei quickly said softly. As the saying goes, 1 woman, 1 play, 2 women, 1 play. We'd better not get too involved in the play. That's more like it." The 2 women turned their shame and anger into secret joy and sat back in their seats. When they were alone, they not only served tea and water, but also threw themselves into each other's arms. Now there are 2 people, and they have to pour water by themselves. What about the blessing of having 2 people together? Alice. Life is unpredictable. The big intestines are bound to the small intestines. Chapter 198, Conscientious Merchants. Let's talk about it in chronological order. After returning to the topic, Xia Wei's temperament as a female president was immediately revealed. As she spoke, she sorted out the documents at hand, some of which needed Su Wei's signature. "Hey, Sister Wei, let me talk first. I just have one thing to say so that I can go back to work after I finish speaking." Li Xiaoman hurriedly spoke first. She originally came to Xia Wei to hand over a document, and happened to meet Su Wei. "Okay, then Xiaoman, you go first." Xia Wei nodded when she heard it. According to the accumulated things now, the 2 of them estimated that it would take most of the day to deal with them. "Boss, Ziwei Pharmaceuticals production line has been completed ahead of schedule according to your requirements, and the test results are also good, meeting the expected design requirements. I just want to ask, can the products be produced normally?" Li Xiaoman asked Su Wei. "There are 2 lines in total, one producing Jinchuang aerosol and the other producing Zufu." "Have all the necessary procedures been completed?" Su Wei asked. "Yes, it's ready. By the way, did you ask someone to help?" The application materials were submitted the day before, and it was approved the next day. "It was very fast," Li Xiaoman said casually. Maybe a friend helped. If everything is ready, then produce it. Give priority to Jinchuang aerosol, the order will come soon." Su Wei was stunned for a moment, but soon realized that it should be Zhanlong who wanted to get the goods quickly. "Okay, also, how much is the initial production?" Li Xiaoman asked, and a small notebook and a pen appeared in her hand. "No limit, produce as much as you can," Su Wei said bluntly. "According to the current productivity, I'm afraid it can't even meet Zhanlong's needs. Anyway, this thing will sell well." "Are you sure?" Li Xiaoman looked suspicious, and almost asked if it could be sold. "Sure, I may have to work overtime to produce it." Su Wei smiled slightly. "Okay, you are the boss, you have the final say," Lee Xiaoman could only close the notebook in dissatisfaction. Okay, I'm done here, I'll go back first, you guys continue, Lee Xiaoman said as she stood up and left the president's office. Sister Wei, let's continue, Su Wei said as he walked to Xia Wei and squeezed her into a chair. Smelly brother, how can you let me sit like this? Xia Wei looked shy, but she didn't dodge. It's easier to communicate this way, Su Wei smiled and hugged Xia Wei's waist. Humph, you're so bad, stinky brother, Xia Wei moved and began to sort out the documents on the table. Xinghe has completed the rectification. The trial production of the prototype started last week. The first pure electric car rolled off the assembly line yesterday. The new car is scheduled to be released the day after tomorrow. Do you want to go to the new car launch? Xia Wei first found an invitation letter with Zhuo Yi and Xinghe's logo printed on it. The new car is called Libao, which means the fastest electric car. The design sketch originated from the wasteland world and was once the work of a top master. The appearance is absolutely eye-catching. With a super-strong hydrogen battery and the super-strong motor with hydrogen metal core, the endurance and power of Libao are the best in the modern world. I won't go, just let them do it, Su Wei shook his head and said. He didn't like this kind of limelight. Okay. I'll reply to Mr. Wan in the afternoon, who won the global sales champion in the third quarter, and invites you to attend this celebration next week. Xia Wei put away the invitation letter and then took out another invitation. Huaiao has won the attention of the world in a short period of time with the super performance of Xianjiao No. 1. Although the United States has been sanctioning Huaiao and calling for a boycott of Huaiao mobile phones. But with the emergence of hydrogen-based chips, the sanctions of the United States on Huaiao have become nominal. And Huaiao's smartphones are truly good quality and low price, and soon became popular with consumers. Not only Daxia, but also other countries call it a generation of God machine. At present, except for several Western Alliance member countries led by the United States who are still insisting on boycotting, other countries have opened their doors to Huaiao. Therefore, in the third quarter of this year, Huaiao won the first place in the world without any suspense, and directly knocked down the Fruit mobile phone that had dominated the list for many years. This is the top priority of Huaiao, and it is also a great joy for the Great Xia Kingdom. Can I not go? Su Wei looked at Xia Wei helplessly and asked. What do you think? Xia Wei rolled her eyes at him. Okay, you decide, I'll follow you, Su Wei said and rested his head on Xia Wei's shoulders. Sure enough, soft rice is still more delicious. It's fragrant and sticky. Okay, then I'll notify you when the time comes. Xia Wei put the invitation on the other side. We've talked about external things, now let's talk about internal things. Zhuo software is currently very popular. The manager suggested making games to improve the company's product structure. Zhuo took out a document and placed it in front of Su Wei. It was a project plan proposed by the person in charge of Zhuo software company. Game? Is Zhuo software so popular? Su Wei was stunned. Only one design software has a paid project, and other antivirus software and office software are free. Of course, you don't even know to pay attention to your own company. Do you still remember the Zhuo team? Xia Wei covered her face. With such a boss, I don't know if it is a blessing or a burden for the employees. Huh? Zhuo team, Su Wei really forgot. What is this? Aren't you afraid that Zhang Dai will come to you in the middle of the night? Xia Wei had a look on her face that said as expected. Zhang Dai. Team, damn, how could he forget about him? Su Wei then remembered that he promised his roommate Zhang Dai to form an esports team, and then hang it under the name of Zhuo Electronics to represent the group. But he didn't expect that he would directly use the name Zhuo team. Did you remember it? Xia Wei asked with squinted eyes. I remember it, Su Wei nodded honestly. The Zhuo team is currently ranked among the top 3 teams in Xiaguo, so it naturally attracts widespread attention. The Zhuo team represents Zhuo Electronics, and Zhuo software is separated from Zhuo Electronics. I don't know which fan said that Zhuo software will also make games, otherwise why support an esports team? I didn't expect this call to get louder and louder, and it directly caused a storm on the internet. Many fans and enthusiasts left messages on the official platform of Zhuo software, hoping that Zhuo software can make a domestic masterpiece. Xia Wei explained the incident helplessly. She doesn't play games, so naturally she can't understand where the passion of enthusiasts comes from. In fact, all this is due to the software on the Zhuo software platform, which has excellent performance and most of it is free. This makes netizens believe that Zui Software is a conscientious merchant. Only then did they have the expectation of Zui Software making games. Chapter 199. It's a big deal. After listening to Xiaowei's introduction, Su Wei was stunned. He didn't expect Zhang Dai to have achieved such amazing results. It seems that it's not just himself who has made progress, but others are also moving towards their ideals. Su Wei was very happy about this, and he was also happy for Zhang Dai. It's confirmed. Zui Software will have its own game masterpiece. Su Wei, who came back to his senses, made the decision directly. Since it is the demand of Zui fans, it must be met. Okay, then I'll let them contact the best design and production team in the country. Xiaowei drew on the project book. No, just let them prepare for operation. I have other candidates for design and production. Su Wei shook his head. Since we are going to do it, we must do it the best. If we don't use such a big back garden in the wasteland world, it would be a waste of natural resources, which is unacceptable. Greek letter sigma. Okay, that's much simpler. Xiaowei annotated the project book again. By the way, there's one more thing I want to tell you. I transferred Zhang Su to be the manager of the Zui team. You know, Zhang Dai is a technical talent and is not good at management and public relations. It will be much better if Zhang Su goes to help, Xiaowei continued. Well, that's good, Su Wei nodded when he heard it. Then, Xiaowei took out a pile of documents and asked Su Wei to check and sign them. Fortunately, her body was very strong after being strengthened. It took more than 2 hours to complete the workload of an ordinary person for 1 or 2 days. During lunch break, Xiaowei took Su Wei to the company's new restaurant for dinner and to see how the employees' meals were. Originally, Li Xiaoman was called to join them, but unfortunately she had a meeting to attend and was too busy to come. To say that the restaurant of Zui Group is so beautiful. The ancient style is integrated with modern simplicity. From the appearance alone, it is a beautiful landscape in the industrial park. The decoration inside is high-end, grand, and classy. It is not an exaggeration to say that it is a 5-star restaurant. Who would have thought that this is just the employee cafeteria of Zui Group? The food is naturally good, all of which are chefs trained by Gishixun. There are 2 forms of buffet and ordering. In the employee package, everything is free. Of course, if you want to have a feast and try something new, you will need to pay extra for the excess, but it will only be charged at a 20% employee price, which is very affordable. The dishes here are the same as those in Gishixun, without any adulteration. Su Wei was very addicted to the meal. The main thing is that you can eat to your satisfaction without restraint, which is very happy. After the meal, Xiaowei brought fruits and drinks again, and the two enjoyed tea break time together. There are many display screens installed in the restaurant to meet the entertainment needs of employees during their rest. At this time, the display screen closest to Su Wei and Xiaowei was playing the new news, and suddenly a message caught Su Wei's attention. The situation in Manila has escalated again. The Red Sleeves army has captured several cities and controlled several important ports. Manila? This name is so familiar. Where have I heard it before? Su Wei couldn't help but fall into deep thought. What's wrong? Xiaowei, who was standing by, noticed that Su Wei was different and asked quickly. Hasn't Manila always been peaceful? Why is it so chaotic all of a sudden? Su Wei asked casually. The official report is that it was a natural disaster. The government did nothing, so the people saved themselves and formed an army wearing red armbands, called the Red Sleeves Army. After Xiaowei finished speaking, she took a sip of juice, then lowered her voice and approached Su Wei and continued, I asked my grandfather. In fact, it was because Manila discovered rich uranium mines, and the current government is preparing to cooperate with Xiaguo to develop it, but this news was leaked to the United States. Of course, the United States did not agree, so it secretly funded a group of street rogues, which is the so-called Red Sleeves Army. So that's it. Su Wei nodded after hearing this. Will Zhanlong not care about this matter? Su Wei asked curiously again. This is Maninia's own business, and other countries have no right to interfere. Zhanlong has no name, so it will definitely not work. Xiaowei shook her head. Sometimes, fame can become a shackle of confinement, and people are not as happy as ordinary people. Why do you care so much? Do you have a lover in Manila? Xiaowei immediately showed a jealous expression. The two finally had some time alone, but they were talking about national affairs. The style was wrong. Sister Wei, what are you talking about? How could I have a... No. I really have, Su Wei was originally smiling, but suddenly froze, because he remembered his silver. Xia Wei was also stunned. Isn't this a joke? How could it come true? No, Sister Wei, don't get me wrong, I'm talking about company employees, Su Wei said with a wry smile. Company employees? Who? Xia Wei was confused. The general manager of the travel company, Feng Zuli. Last time she said she wanted to develop a tourist route to a third country, and the destination she chose was Manania. I wonder if she's back, Su Wei explained quickly. This little girl, is she going to make a fuss? She didn't even report such a big thing to me. Xia Wei was anxious when she heard this. Don't blame her, I approved it, Su Wei said with an embarrassed face. He didn't expect that a war would break out. I'll contact her right away. Xia Wei hurriedly picked up her phone, found Feng Zuli's phone number and dialed it. She was Xia Wei's old subordinate, and also Xia Wei's college classmate. She followed her to work in Ziwei Group. The relationship between the two was quite special. Sorry, the number you dialed is out of service. The voice that Xia Wei least wanted to hear came from the phone. She called several times in a row, and it was the same. Xia Wei called the deputy general manager of the travel company again, and then confirmed that Feng Zuli went to Manania last week and never came back. There were 3 other employees who went with her. Oh no, Xiaohu, what can we do? Xia Wei said with a worried look on her face. As she said that, she quickly reached out and grabbed Su Wei's hand, as if only in this way could she feel a little comforted. Don't panic, they should be fine. With the deterrence of Xia country, the Red Sleeve Army should not dare to hurt them, Su Wei hurriedly comforted. That being said, war often makes people lose their minds. By the way, didn't the news just say that our warships have gone to the northern port of Manania to evacuate our compatriots? Maybe we can contact them and help find out the whereabouts of Manager Feng and others, Su Wei then suggested. Yes, there is also the embassy in Manania. They should be able to find out the Xia people who have entered Manania recently. Xia Wei immediately came up with an idea and quickly picked up the phone to contact her family. Su Wei also picked up the phone, found Secretary Liu's number and called him, and the call was quickly connected. Su Wei asked him to help find someone, and the other party agreed without saying a word. After hanging up the phone, Su Wei was still worried, so he found Shengwen Li's phone number and called him, telling him that the Jinshuang aerosol had been put into production and would be shipped soon. After that, Su Wei also asked him to inquire about Feng Zuli from the military. After doing this, the next thing is to wait. Chapter 200 Trapped. Su Wei spent the whole afternoon with Xia Wei waiting for news. The original plan to find He Shuang had to be temporarily shelved because he also hoped that Feng Zuli would be safe. Unfortunately, things did not go as planned. Until the evening, the replies from all places were that there was no such person. During the waiting period, the two found relevant information about 3 other employees, but without exception, none of them could be contacted. This time they were really at a loss. Even if they wanted to rescue, they didn't know where to find people. Tonight is destined to be sleepless. It was not until dawn that Su Wei coaxed Xia Wei to sleep. After gently placing Xia Wei on the sofa and taking off his coat to cover her, Su Wei came to the huge floor-to-ceiling window alone. From here, you can overlook the entire industrial park. The factory area of Ziwei Electronics was brightly lit all night, and it was obviously working overtime. After taking a deep breath, Su Wei started the artificial intelligence search in the smart bracelet through his mobile phone. Still using the method last time to hack into the satellite. I hope to find useful clues, but this is also a bit of self-consolation. To find a person in this land of more than 100,000 square kilometers, even artificial intelligence would take a long time. And in the end, it is very likely that nothing will be found. But now, there is only one way to save the situation. 1 hour, 2 hours, still no information available. Ding ding suddenly, Xia Wei's phone rang. Su Wei ran over and picked it up. It was a long string of unfamiliar numbers. Xiao Wei, whose phone is it? Xia Wei was awakened by the ringing of the phone and asked in a daze. I don't know, it's an unfamiliar number, and it seems to be from abroad. Su Wei handed the phone over. Xia Wei was immediately alert when she heard that it was from abroad. She answered the phone immediately after taking it. Hello. Shirley, I'm so glad you're okay. Yeah. As soon as the phone was connected, Feng Zuli's voice was heard. Xia Wei smiled immediately, but then her brows frowned slightly. Okay, you wait where you are, We will find a way to send someone to pick you up. A few minutes later, Xiaowei hung up the phone and couldn't help but breathe a long sigh of relief. What's the matter? Su Wei asked hurriedly. Shirley and the others were traveling when the war suddenly broke out. The war caused a large-scale interruption of Menenia's communications. They fled with the refugees to a Xia-funded factory in Menenia. However, the Red Sleeves army controlled the traffic to the port, and they have been trapped there for several days. Today, they finally borrowed a satellite phone and contacted us, Xiaowei said with a worried look. Although they already knew that Feng Zuli and the others were safe, this was only temporary. It was unknown how long the war would last, and it was unknown how long they could hold out there. Ask if they can send troops to pick them up, Su Wei suggested. Xiaowei also had this idea, so she called Grandpa Xia. Soon, the answer came. Not long ago, the Red Sleeves army captured the Menenia government building and shot and killed the president of Menenia and many other important figures. Now that embassies of various countries have evacuated, it is even more impossible for combat personnel to enter Menenia. Because at this sensitive time, it would represent a declaration of war. Xiaohu, what should we do now? Xiaowei panicked. Even the embassy had to be evacuated, so Feng Zuli and the others would be doomed. Sister Wei, don't panic. I'll find a way to deal with this. Su Wei immediately had a plan in mind. What way? Xiaowei asked, her eyes full of worry. I'll go pick them up, Su Wei said directly. No, the United States hates you so much now. Once you leave Daxia, they will definitely hunt you down at all costs, Xiaowei refused directly. Sister Wei, I'll show you something good. Su Wei reached into his arms and took out the magic glasses from the space and put them on his face. Glasses? Xiaowei was still suspicious at first, but then she showed an incredible expression. Because after Su Wei put on the glasses, in the blink of an eye, he turned into another unfamiliar face. If she hadn't seen it with her own eyes, she couldn't believe that the person standing in front of her was Su Wei. Are you dreaming? Xiaowei opened her eyes wide, but she still saw a strange face. Sister Wei, you can touch it, Su Wei's voice came, confirming that she was not dreaming. Xiaowei quickly reached out to touch Su Wei's face, and it was a familiar touch. Looking more carefully, she found that part of her finger had penetrated the epidermis of the face, but when her finger left her mouth, the face was still intact. What is this? Xiaowei was even more surprised. Sister Wei, this is the latest achievement of my technology team, called the Phantom, which can change different faces as needed. In fact, it is an application of holographic images. As long as it is not touched, no clues can be found. Su Wei reached out and touched the legs of his glasses, turned off the projection, and immediately restored his original appearance. In fact, he could control it through brain waves, just like a force field shield, but in order to show it to Xiaowei more intuitively, he used the manual mode. This phantom stores more than 1,000 faces, enough for Su Wei to transform into thousands of people and blend into the world without being discovered by others. This is amazing. Xiaowei couldn't help but take off the phantom on Su Wei's face and put it on her own face. The magic is made of plastic material and can automatically adjust its size according to the wearer. Under Su Wei's guidance, Xiaowei learned the manual mode. When it is not turned on, the magic is just an ordinary pair of glasses. Once turned on, the lens will take on the role of a display screen, and menus and options will appear. Of course, this screen can only be seen by the wearer. According to your preferences, choose different faces. After confirming, the magic will project the selected face on the wearer's face through countless sensors, thus producing the effect of face replacement. At the same time, the artificial intelligence on board will adjust the image from time to time according to the wearer's facial movements, making the virtual face lively. For a while, Xiaowei had a lot of fun playing in front of the mirror. Sometimes she turned into a young and handsome man, sometimes she turned into an old lady with wrinkles on her face, and sometimes she turned into a rough man with a big beard. With her hot body, she directly blinded Su Wei's eyes. Sister Wei, you can rest assured now, with it, no one can know my true identity. Su Wei quickly took the magic off Xiaowei's face. If it continued to change, he was afraid that he would have psychological shadows when he was intimate in the future. Okay, but you have to promise to come back safely. Xiaowei quickly pulled Su Wei and said seriously. I promise, Su Wei said as he stamped Xiaowei's attractive red lips. Xiaowei immediately responded with great enthusiasm. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like, Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.